Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the City Commission of Fort Lauderdale conference meeting on this November 17th, 2020. And I want to thank you all for participating. Do we have 100% participation here? Yes, we do. Okay. All right. So the City of Fort Lauderdale is hosting commission meetings in both a virtual and in-person format. The public will be able to listen to and review commission meetings at www.fortlauderdale.gov/FLTV, www.youtube.com/City of Fort Lauderdale, all spelled out, as well as on Comcast Channel 78 and AT&T UVerse Channel 99. So if you would like to speak on an agenda item, please click on the link below. It is as follows: bit.ly/virtual CC meetings. That's bit.ly/virtual CC meetings. To help ensure the decorum, we ask that you please abide by the following guidelines. Number one, please refrain from any behavior that is disruptive, distractive, profane, or inhibits the meeting in any way. Two, while you are on the phone waiting for your opportunity to speak, please mute the meeting broadcast on the various channels, FLTV, YouTube, Comcast, or AT&T if you are watching simultaneously to avoid delays in the broadcast. I will call upon you when it is your turn to speak and also notify you when your time has expired. City staff has automatically added speakers in the listen to only mode, and you will be unmuted to speak when recognized. Once you have completed speaking, you will be muted and may either hang up to exit the meeting, or you can stay connected to listen to the remainder of the meeting. Okay, very good. So, let us begin. Before we begin, we'll start with commission reports. But before we do that, I understand that we have a new county mayor, Senator, Mayor, Commissioner Stephen Geller. Congratulations. Looking forward to working with you in the next year, 12 months. And we have a new vice mayor, Commissioner Michael Udine. So congratulations to both of you, and looking forward to working with both of you. So, why don't we start with commission reports? We did have one communication, but I think that's been kind of resolved, hasn't it? It was from the Sustainability Advisory Board, and they asked, and the one issue that they had was that they asked us to approve a ban on styrofoam, which we have done already.
That's right. There was two prongs to that communication. One dealt with styrofoam, the other dealt with the tree ordinance, and so. We still, as you know, we've got the tree ordinance back. It's out for some additional community input. We'll bring it to the commission, hopefully right after the first of the year.
Okay, so we do listen to our advisory board members, and we are moving forward on both those actions. I want to congratulate the commission on agreeing to suspend the use of styrofoam on city property, and I look forward to the tree ordinance when it comes before the commission. Tonight, I believe we're voting on it for the second time for the styrofoam ordinance.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mayor, before we move on, it looks like our representative liaison to the Sustainability Advisory Board would like to offer a comment, maybe in addition to the communication we received. So Glenn, do you have something additional you'd like to add to this communication?
Wait a minute, your microphone's not on. Welcome, Glenn. Identify yourself.
Glenn Hadwin, Sustainability Manager, Public Works Department. The SAB communication on styrofoam also made an ask that we consider a similar ban on single-use plastics. Within our own operations, we could potentially do that.
Can we?
We
Can
don't.
we?
We both have.
Are you talking about this?
Yes. Have our cup.
I reuse this. This is a refill.
Good.
I don't believe there's similar language with, there's a specific preemption on single-use plastics, plastic bags, things of that sort. It doesn't, I'll go back and check, but as I recall, it doesn't have similar language as the polystyrene one does with regards to governmental entities being able to regulate their own within their own properties. So
So
we'll have
could
to
you,
check on
could you
that.
follow up on that?
Yep.
Okay. You know, I agree with you 100%, but I often thought that our hands were tied even for us to make that regulation, because I also in fact, I think Commissioner Moritas brought this up too about smoking in public parks. You know, Fort Lauderdale should be able to regulate what kind of activity happens on its own public space, and we've often thought we could prohibit people smoking in public parks, which includes the beach.
Right.
But I don't think we're there yet, are we, Alan?
No, and actually, I just my crack staff sent me a copy of the statute, and it specifically states that no local governmental agency, or state government agency may enact any rule, regulation, or ordinance regarding use, disposition, sale, prohibition, restriction, or tax of such auxiliary containers, wrappings, or disposable plastic bags.
So there you go. Someone has some really good lobbyists up in Tallahassee that made that language very comprehensive. Okay, well, we're doing what we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for being here today. Also, Cindy Apobel, is Cindy here? Is she online?
Mayor, I do not see that name on either a panelist or an attendee.
Okay. Okay, she had signed up, so we'll just put that aside. Okay, moving forward, now we'll get to commission reports. Commissioner Moritas.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few random things kind of that came up during my meetings and events we've been to. So let me first start with the events. We are getting busier and starting to attend some events around the city. So we had a grand opening of Eat Tapas Spanish restaurant. It's kind of a federal across from La Bamba up there. It was lovely. They had live music, and I hope you all can check it out. Lineo Palm Air officially opened their new development also in Palm Air. We went to that. The executive airport hosted a VK. Do you know what that stands for?
What is that?
VK.
No.
It's a virtual 5K. So last year we had
So
the
you run in place?
Well, I just did a video and kicked it off, and then did my normal exercise.
So you stay at home and you run?
Yes, everybody was encouraged to do it virtually wherever they were located. So we did that. It was we had the event, like I said, last year at the airport. Next year it'll come back. So that was Saturday. So a few things happening in our neighborhood. So our meetings, let's see, from our neighborhood meeting we had last week with Coleridge Isles, they were a little bit concerned maybe about communication during our hurricane. And I guess I need a little bit of clarification also. I subscribe to so many alerts, and it seems like I'm not sure which one is the best. I guess there's maybe a Lauder track where it's like an ATL. I get that email. It's from them. That was one alert I got. Maybe Strategic Communications sends something, but there was an email that was sent, but I didn't get it, even though I subscribed to everything. I thought it was about the trash pickup. And so neighbors were concerned, like, is the trash coming? Is it not coming? And that was last week. And then once again, even this week, yesterday, the trash still wasn't picked up. So then people are calling me. And I mean, I tell them to call 828-8000 and get the information. But I guess if there was, when I send neighbors an email, I will say, for all information, please follow blank. Well, there are about like 8 different things you can follow if you want the information. The problem is it's not all being communicated on each of those platforms equally. So I guess I just need to know, what is the one place we should subscribe where everything will get channeled to that? And I was kind of thinking of Strategic Communications.
It is. And so one of the things we've gone to here recently is a new notification system where you would see the text probably come out. It says alert FTL.
I get that too.
That's designed to respond however you sign up to receive messages from us, whether that's by text message, email,
Yeah.
or even a phone call that would
Right.
be an automated message.
I get all three. Yeah.
That we're able also to triangulate to certain areas of the city. If we have an impact that just, impacts one area but doesn't impact everybody, that we can
Sure.
focus it in. But yes, the answer to your question would be strategic communications is our main place of information, our main source. We do try to communicate in all of the different social platforms that are out there now, probably many more than I even can keep up
Right.
with, the
See, I printed it out.
Facebook, Instagram, and all.
I don't know. Did any other commissioners have any issues with communications around this past storm? And not kind of getting quite everything or knowing kind of what was going on. Hey, Shannon, good to see you too. I saw you popped up. Let me see. And even, like I said, I don't know if the trash was delayed again, but once again, we really didn't get quite that update. If it was delayed yesterday, I don't know. That would be my husband updating.
Well, the
me.
trash issue was important because we last Monday, a week ago Monday, we closed city services and we closed City Hall in anticipation of a more, we expected Tropical Storm Eta to be more aggressive on Monday than it really was. So we stopped garbage collection, I know. But the question is, how did that message get out?
It really didn't get out too well. I am looking at the email that someone forwarded me that did talk about it, but I didn't get it. And I do subscribe to everything. So just I'm saying, like I said, when I look at all the ways you can communicate, you can go to our website or that Alert FTL, which I do, but Alert FTL didn't say anything about trash, which maybe it doesn't need to. Maybe it's more emergency related. Nextdoor, maybe it was on Nextdoor, but I don't really check that. I'm kind of thinking there would be something that would be pushed to us as opposed to me going somewhere. It seems like maybe even in the beginning of the pandemic, we are pushing a lot more. We are kind of, if there was an update, we would push it. So I don't know if I got an email from Strategic Communication when the storm started and it kind of said, do that. Maybe I did and I'd missed it, Shannon. So I forgive me if I did, but I can't see.
So Shannon is there. I'd welcome her
I can't see
to
who this email's from.
go off of mute if possible and see if, hey, Shannon.
Hi, good afternoon. I would say the best place to go is to the city website. That's where we typically have the most comprehensive list of updates for residents. So things specific to certain areas like garbage collection that may have been missed on a day and was rescheduled for a certain day, something like bulk pickup. Those types of things were outlined on the homepage of the city website. And of course, I would always direct people who had questions to that 828-8000 number. We did send out targeted messages to neighborhoods that had changes to their schedules via Nextdoor. And of course, we updated the website, I'd say at least twice daily, and then tried to share information on some of our social media platforms as well. But of course, that doesn't necessarily allow for extensive communication. So we're constantly trying to send links and drive people back to our website where all that information is available.
So
Okay.
Shannon, let me ask you a question. We have Lauderdale, okay? And when that first came out, it was touted as being, the direct access to information you need to know on a real-time basis for what is going on in the city. And wouldn't that be the place where people could to go to? Doesn't that link us right to a city website? And isn't that something that we promote throughout the city for if people want real-time information?
We do promote Lauderdale. That's our customer service application. So we encourage residents to use that as a platform to report any issues or to ask any questions that they may have. For example, if they see a pothole or if they did not have trash pickup, we encourage them to report that using Lauderdale. For real-time communication, I think the best thing to do is to call the 828-8000. We, of course, also use the Alert FTL to disseminate messages to targeted areas for emergency purposes.
Okay, so the FTL is emergency. All right, so when neighbors contact me or when I need to know, next time I'll just go to the website because I was kind of waiting for someone to send me an email, but maybe that's not as efficient and I get it. So I'll do that next time and I'll alert neighbors to do the same. So we'll just direct them to the website. Okay, so thank you for that. In terms of the flooding, I mean, yeah, I know certain neighborhoods got it worse than others, but you want to talk about kind of flooding issues later, maybe?
Yeah, we can
do.
Talk about, okay, because I have a couple
talk about it.
questions later that I'll address about that. So one question that came up last night at my District 1 meeting, and Raj, I'll probably need a little help from you on this. It would be more directed to you. One of my neighbors asked about the warning we received because we had exceeded our discharge to the deep wells. He was maybe a little concerned that we still have a lot of broken gravity mains, and kind of was wondering where we were with the progress of repairing those, or maybe there's another reason why we got that warning, or and kind of what's going to happen as a result of that warning.
Hello, Raj. The man of the hour.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the commission. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You're right, Commissioner Moritas, in terms of what happened or because of the excessive rain we had, our system surcharged or it was overflowing. So there were two things that happened. One is obviously we have approximately about 90 million gallons, 90 to 92 million gallons that we pump into the deep injection well, the treated water. And that exceeded the capacity. So we had to send that additional treated water into the intracoastal. And obviously that is going to be, we have to report to the FDEP, and it is nothing unusual. Virtually all major utilities, they faced a similar situation, though this was nothing exceptional. As far as what caused it, obviously the flooding was one. We had more than 60% of our pump stations, they were surcharged. And we do have still, a significant amount of INI, inflow and infiltration. We have just started, with the consent order, we have, only certain drainage basin, but that doesn't mean that all the problems have been fixed. So we will continue to do that. So you are going to see the incremental decrease in the inflow back into the plant. But even if you took that out of consideration, just sheer volume of water that fell, that itself was so significant that it exceeded the capacity. So we will continue to work on that, and it is just the start of in doing the INI. We still have got many drainage basins. They need to be addressed, and we will continue to work on that.
Can I just
Yeah,
follow
go
up with a
ahead.
question? So you bring up other issues now. We always thought that we had capacity at the George Lohmeyer plant, but you're saying that when we experience these unusually high rainfalls, that it exceeds our capacity. And one of the things we do, of course, is to treat the water and then discharge it into the waterways, which doesn't affect the environment, correct? It's treated
Yes,
water.
yes,
Okay.
it is treated water.
Right. But at the same, it's not potable, is it?
It's not potable. It is.
It's gray water that's put into
Yes,
the
yes,
coastal.
yes.
Okay. And the other thing is though, what about does it tax our infrastructure that's already fragile as we bring in inflow from not just our own sources but from other cities? What's our plan to deal with that?
Yes, it does tax the system. The farthest you are from the plant, the more difficult it becomes to flush the toilet.
Mm.
And that's probably must have been experienced at many locations. We do understand that some of the communities which were farthest upstream, they did have this, but I think it was a system-wide throughout the county as well. And normally when you establish the capacity of a treatment plant, you don't design for a storm event like this because that is extremely cost prohibitive.
But let's talk real now. With climate change, these 100-year storms are happening more frequently, and with more and more moisture being brought into the ecosystem through the melting of the ice caps, we could probably anticipate more rainfalls, more frequent, and this isn't unusual to get rainfall like this, I mean, I remember just a few years ago, we also had a significant amount of rain. And so the question I'm asking you, you may not be able to answer it tonight or this afternoon, but is the George Lohmeyer treatment plant sufficient? Does it have sufficient capacity to accommodate these types of changing climate conditions going forward? Or is this another utility that we should be looking at in trying to rebuild our infrastructure?
I would cautiously say yes, that we do have sufficient capacity. What we do have is that we have got 5 injection wells and 5 pumps, and each of them, they are approximately 19 million gallon capacity. So in the event we get into this situation, and this is something we have contemplated, that we may have to construct another well and we have to go through the permitting process. So we can have additional capacity until a certain point. Now, if we exceed, let's say that our footprint at George Lohmeyer would allow us to build 2 more wells with, let's say, even numbers, 40 million gallons. And if we exceed that threshold as well, then obviously we have to look at the other alternative. But because we can construct at least 1 or 2 more injection wells, we do have the capacity and we can definitely look at that.
So, so explain to me a little bit, because I'm not, I need your education to educate me a little bit. So if the water table is elevated, okay, how are we able to inject water into the ground through these injection wells? Where does it go if the water table is already so high?
Yes.
I mean, is that a fair question?
It's a very fair question, but the injection well, it goes deep inside. It goes at least 1,500 to 2,000 feet
15,000?
1,500 feet. It can be even depending on where it is. So it is a deep injection well that penetrates. Our Biscayne aquifer, which supplies the water, starts from about 50 feet down, and it extends for another 100, 150 feet, but it penetrates beyond that, such that the water does not contaminate. So that injection well is way deep into the system, that it does not impact the water sources. So you have plenty of capacity. As I said, maybe 1 or 2 more injection wells. But if we even exceed that, then obviously we have to look at other alternatives.
Thank you, Raj.
Yes.
And I guess the last follow-up question then, do you think if we replace or fix all of our gravity mains, that would also obviously help the situation?
Yes, absolutely. And that is something which is our aim. And I might have said this before, but I'm going to repeat it, that we have just started fixing our infrastructure. We have not finished yet. And until such time, you are going to see issues in virtually every area. It is going to see issues with water. You are going to see stormwater and flooding that we have seen, and also the wastewater. So we have just scratched the surface.
Okay, thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that answer. That's it for Raj.
Thank you, Raj.
Thanks. I have a couple other things. Let's see. Ben Sorensen, help me out on this one. We had our Lauderdale meeting last week, and when we were talking about Lauderdale, we are also maybe wondering or asking if, when we're looking at this UDPA with the county, since Lauderdale is right around that new joint government building, we are kind of throwing out the idea of if it's possible to incorporate some of that trail into this overall project, since that mobility hub is right there also around the joint government center. Was that something we were maybe hoping to ask the county when we go to our next joint meeting, to see if there's any appetite while we're in the initial stages of working with them? I know we really wanted to have some influence over the tunnel or the bridge. And I think this is also another area of influence that we could have at this early stage as we're, deliberating on this joint center. So talk to me a little bit about that. What am I trying to?
Yeah, Commissioner Duff, thanks for bringing that up. I think you're exactly right. And I think it is something we should bring up when we next meet with the county. I think the timing is good, Commissioner and Mayor and Vice Mayor and Commissioner, because where we are in the county joint government process is just, we've just done the design criteria, which is, while it is have some design for the actual building, that's actually not what they were kind of requested to do. So I think the timing is good to bring this up, to raise it, and to start incorporating this into the discussion.
Sure, even if it's kind of right around there. I mean, we don't know what
Absolutely.
percentage of, obviously, this Lauder Trail would be applicable, but some of it certainly would be kind of where it would connect that joint government center with some of the other kind of hubs around there. So Mayor, I don't know how we necessarily bring that up, but obviously when we look at this, our Lauder Trail, we're looking at a pretty comprehensive trail that would probably start right here with this mobility hub and go to parks, whether it's Holiday Park or the One Stop Shop or Lockhart Park up in District 1. You know, we're really talking about connecting it citywide. And there's, we're looking at all the opportunities of funding, because this would be more than the $5 million Lauder Trail that maybe we initially discussed when we discussed it. And I know Ben Rogers will probably bring the commission a little bit more of an update soon, kind of what we are discussing, but I know we are on a timeline with the UDPA joint meeting. So we are just thinking about it. I don't know exactly how we would bring that up with the county and try to get any
Yeah, we can bring
preliminary
it-
commitment.
We absolutely can bring it up with the
Okay.
county as we work to the next phase of planning. That'll be very easy to do, and I would appreciate, or I would expect that they would appreciate it.
Okay, and I know they also asked us, you know, for that transportation master plan. So this is kind of a little bit of it too, you know, just the connectivity with the pedestrians and the bikes. So I think that would be good, because this Lauder Trail obviously will be more expensive than 5 million if we really wanted to do everything we're hoping, and incorporating Dillard Trail and Mockingbird Trail and some of the greenways. There are a lot of great opportunities if we really get our ducks in a row and tap into all the funding sources possible with the penny sales tax, with this joint government center. What else was it? Oh, our parks bond. Our parks bond can also be a supplemental source of income for this, because it would connect parks. So we'll talk more about it as a commission when Ben brings it to us. But I want the county, we really do not have very many county parks in the city of Fort Lauderdale, do we?
I don't think we have any.
I don't think we have any either. So this would be a wonderful opportunity for the county to give us maybe $50 million. I'm just starting small. 100 million could be good.
Commissioner, we
Yeah.
have attempted that in the past.
Well,
Their statement to us is, well, they only participate in large parks, not small parks.
well, this will be large because it will connect the joint government center with all of Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
And we
but
will, it will be a park.
They're looking more, you know, they have a different idea of what a large park is. But
Well,
I
let's
think,
ask.
yeah, well, we have asked, but we can ask again. And
Good.
And I think it, you know, well, keep in mind that back in the early 2000s, the county passed a $400 million bond issue for parks, and they did give us money for parks. For example, the Peter Feldman Park was purchased with that bond. So, and I don't know if there were any others. Maybe Steve Glassman, Commissioner Glassman, do you recall if the county gave us any other money besides that? There was nothing on the beach or anything, was there?
I'm trying to think if, you know, that little small Ludiner Park on 33rd Avenue and Dolphin Isles, I don't know if that came from the county parks.
No, I
Fund
don't
or
think that
not.
came from it. But other than, I just think it was the Peter Feldman Park that they gave us
Yeah.
of money out of that 400 million.
Wow, that's a pretty low percentage. Yeah.
We
So-
didn't get a lot.
We didn't have that many opportunities. I think a lot of that money went out west to prevent development from happening. I think that was the goal, to buy up as much open space as possible to prevent development out there.
I think it would actually encourage it, because if I had a nice park, I might want to live there.
Well,
Yeah. So
but you
who
know
knows what they were thinking? Maybe they were. Anyways, I think that's a great opportunity, and the county, I think, would it would be beneficial to get some county. Don't our park impact fee, not park. So when a development comes, they are charged a park impact fee, correct? Doesn't all that money go to the county? No?
Does not. No, that stays locally, and now we even have to invest that money back into the area of the development itself based upon
Okay.
state statute. So
Super.
it's been even further guided to actually impact the area that was impacted.
Okay, that was the new statute that came out then with the park impact fee. So it does stay with the city. So once again, that's another source of revenue though that could help this Lauder Trail. Okay, so that's that on Lauder Trail. Hold on, I have one more thing, I think.
Well, keep in mind with regard to Lauder Trail, I think your thoughts have great merit. We should have something that's comprehensive and holistic. But if we wait to try to redesign the entire project over many years, we're never going to get anything done.
Sure.
So we probably need to just start somewhere. We can
Yeah.
always add to it or
Absolutely. And Ben Rogers has a great starting place that he'll present to us when he comes. We do have some starting points. And I know Mockingbird and Dillard have also done all their
Anna
research.
saying who, me? No.
Yeah. So we definitely have starting points, but we're going to be on a parallel path to get started and also master plan. So we'll bring you guys that soon. Hold tight. Ben and Sorensen have been hard at work. We're ready to give you guys an update soon.
Okay.
Okay, last thing. So I want to update you on the pickleball. We did look into your pickleball request and Phil out there in virtual world. The pickleball facility that neighbors would like is at least 20 acres. It's large.
Where's this?
Well, okay, you asked me about a month ago to research because neighbors were emailing the commission asking for a pickleball facility, like a competition. And then so we researched what the footprint would look like, and it's at least 20 acres. And I don't really think we have that. Well, that's the competition size. Am I right, Phil? Wherever you are? I think it's 20 acres. And we,
Is that including stadium seating and things
well,
like
it's what
that?
they're looking for. So I don't think we really have that space right now, but that would be a great project for the county too. That would be another good park.
We have to have the real estate for it. So
Right.
So let's talk about that for just a second. There's some discussion with regard to making Fort Lauderdale a competition and exhibition venue for pickleboard as well as tennis. And Holiday Park doesn't really accommodate it because we'd have to take away from some of the courts to provide stadium seating and things like that. So there has been some discussion about Lockhart Park
Yep.
and the city portion of Lockhart Park, how we can, put pickleball out there, maybe an exhibition space for both pickleball as well as tennis, and also skateboarding. So, I mean,
There's
we
a
have
skateboard park across the street, Calvary.
Calvary has a skateboard
Yeah,
park.
where
Is
we
it
went
open to
through
the
this and it's open to the public. Yep.
public? Okay, so I didn't know that. So, okay. that's
Yeah,
great.
thanks. Sorry. Yeah, we talked about that a while ago. That would be great. We don't have 20 acres at Lockhart Park for that. It's not really what we've been designing with the neighbors. That has never come up in conversation with any of my neighbors when I've done community outreach, and certainly Phil can do more community outreach with ACOM. I think that being said, we're even going to vote on something for Extreme Action Park. That's a great space, and we can buy some land. Even the county and the state have some land out there near Extreme Action Park. Even that what was that place called? I don't want to say holding cell. What was it? Stockade.
The stockade.
Even the stockade. If nobody wants to use it, that'd be a great space for us to get our hands on and build a pickleball tournament. So Lockhart Park, since it's green, am I bringing up really horrible things?
You
Sorry.
didn't bring up a horrible thing.
Sorry.
I think it's just ironic because
Yeah.
I agree with you.
We
that
can
it
use the
just sits
land.
out there languishing. No one's using it,
Yeah.
and but the county insists that they need to keep it in inventory in case there's ever an overflow of the jail population here at the county jail. And since there was a court order mandating them to keep the population at the downtown county jail to a maximum, they've always thought that, well, they had that as a maximum, as a spillover place. Now, if you talk to the sheriff will say, I'll never, ever, ever use it
Mhm.
because the population is not as great as it used to be. And so there's this debate going back and forth, which is why we're smirking, because we've been talking about this for the longest time. We first talked about using it for a homeless center.
Right.
And now, as far as I'm concerned, it's right in the city, and I'd love to be able to purchase it.
I think that's my district, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it
It's right
is.
out there. And so next to that is also the state owns some land where they're not really using that space either. I think it was some kind of juvenile offices for,
Does the state still operate out there?
there's something out there.
Still operated or not, I can.
Well, it's-
confirm and see there, but I don't
I
know
don't-
if they still operate.
It doesn't look like it's in operation because it's not, it's in disarray, but it's another chunk of land that maybe, so my point is I'd love to see, and this is all your Extreme Action Park, is why I was going
Yeah.
there. And that would be a great space to build out some more recreation in the area. I think Lockhart will probably just keep it green. and a passive park. And, we have that community center too. So there really isn't room for both.
Well, what about some of the pickleball folks have talked about converting part of George English tennis courts. What are your thoughts about that?
I wouldn't convert. I wouldn't touch one tennis court
Okay.
personally. That's my opinion, because I've also heard from that side. And I would get the land from the state, the land from the county, or buy an old, something that we can tear down and make it a new facility. But I think there's opportunity, but I probably wouldn't, using the green space at Lockhart wouldn't work.
Okay.
But thank you for that conversation. So my last one, then I'll switch. So Holiday Park, we've had a lot of conversations about the testing. I'm glad we have a new vendor, but I did have 3 examples of people who went this morning. We talked about last night at my district 1, 2, and one neighbor waited 3 hours in their car and they had to leave because they didn't have enough gas to even keep waiting. So there's still a lot of demand at Holiday Park. I mean,
Has Holiday Park been reopened?
It's reopened
There is.
today.
So yeah, it reopened. Its hours are 9 to 3, and the vendor that's out there now operating on behalf of the Department of Health does not accept appointments. They're just
Right.
first come, first serve because of the 15-minute test now that's there. So candidly, with the commission, they've asked to stop the line at 3 o'clock in hopes that they can get through everybody who's waiting in line by 6 o'clock. So they are anticipating longer lines because of the demand for the faster test. And obviously our numbers are not going the right direction. So I'll communicate that with our people that are liaison to that site. But
And
unfortunately, I have heard that the line is
it was long today. We had, like I said, 3 different examples starting from 9 to 12. One neighbor reported that really the backlog came at the point where they were trying to just collect the information. It wasn't when you got past that point, then the testing was quick. I don't know if we have any city resources like we did in the beginning, where we are able to kind of help facilitate some of the stuff that maybe wasn't medical. Maybe it was just, taking down the information to get the line moving a little bit more. I don't know. So when you have that conversation.
I'll take a look at that. I don't know if we can perform in that function, but we are looking at this point, having to perform in the function of directing the traffic around the site, because we have the National Guard through the 1st of December. And beyond that, they haven't committed to continuing to be at the site. So we're really looking at how we step in and help the flow of traffic at the site. But we'll take a look at all that.
So maybe we could at least communicate when we're talking to neighbors, expect a 3-hour wait. Maybe that would just be helpful when you get ready to go. Or if there's another place, like I did tell neighbors about CB Smith Park and
Well, Lauderhill will take first responders and students or young children, and Mills Pond will take everybody. Because a friend of mine went to Lauderhill and there was virtually no wait. So
what other
I think
places?
the attractiveness of the Holiday Park site today is that it's
Yeah.
the first day back, and it's the first time that we've offered a test that you literally get results within 15 minutes. So.
Right. So I know they're all waiting, but so I guess we just need to let people know, expect a 3-hour wait. And then that would help, some of these concerns that are coming up. All right. Thank you, Mayor. That's it.
oh, great. All right. Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. Some really nice events in the last few weeks. And we did kick off on Friday, November 6th with Commissioner Sorensen. We had a Las Olas Mobility Working Group meeting. We're moving full steam ahead. We have another one this Friday, and we'll have another one in a couple of weeks. We really want to have them more often now so that we can get a product to the commission. Saturday, the 7th of November, Equality Florida 2020 Broward Virtual Gala. Unfortunately, it was not in one of the hotels, but it was a well-done virtual gala. Saturday, November 14th, had a lot of fun. That was congratulations to Tim and Joe, 50th anniversary of the world-famous Parrot Lounge on Fort Lauderdale Beach. They had quite a crowd outside. The road was closed and also inside, and for about 12 hours, from noon till midnight on Saturday the 14th. So that was quite a response to that. Really nice. I wanted to welcome back the Sunnyside Up Market in the Mass District, which came back on Sunday, the 15th of November. Yesterday, I did attend a solid waste and recycling working group meeting with the county. We are getting close to deciding on a governance structure, and I'll report on that as soon as the decision is made. Upcoming, Flagler Village Civic Association is meeting tomorrow evening On Thursday, the 19th, I'll be meeting with stakeholders for the Breakers Avenue project that's moving actually really well. We're hitting all of the benchmarks, and we're probably approaching over 50-60% design on that. Central Beach Alliance will be meeting this Thursday evening at 6 o'clock virtually. Saturday, November 21, I think Michael Albetta is on the line, and I want to say congratulations to everyone. We'll be doing the Sanctuary Church's 5th annual grocery and turkey giveaway this Saturday from 9 a.m. Till noon. And obviously next week, Thursday, I just wanted to wish everyone a very happy and a safe Thanksgiving. A couple of comments. I know that we'll be talking about some of our future flooding mitigation efforts, as some of that topic was discussed a little bit earlier. I wanted to mention, Mayor, you did mention that today we have a new county mayor and county vice mayor. I've been thinking that maybe we should have a discussion at a conference meeting in the near future. So many municipalities are having their swearing-ins this week. And, you know, now that we moved our election to November, is it wise to still have that swearing in January? I'm not sure if we need that 2-month lag, but maybe we should discuss that at a future meeting and see how everyone feels about that, because so many municipalities are actually doing that already from the November election. So I thought maybe that could be a topic of conversation in the future. We had a very long discussion at my pre-agenda meeting last night
Vice Mayor,
about
Vice
events. Yes, I'm sorry.
let's have that conversation.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? Let's have that conversation now.
Well, right now with everybody, okay, fine. I didn't know
know
if
that
everyone
you
wanted to
just-
do that right now. Well, I can.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I can't hear you.
Go ahead.
No, I think there are. Okay, I think there are advantages to maybe not having that 2-month gap in between the election and then the swearing in. I think 2 weeks still gives people a time to maybe make a transition in an office or not, but I can see why some people might say more time. But the more and more I've been thinking about it, the more and more I'm inclined to think that we shouldn't have the 2-month gap. I don't know what the advantages are. I don't know. I'm leaning towards following the lead of the other municipalities that seem to do it within a few weeks of the election. But again, I'm open to hearing what other people think, but I just thought about it when I saw all of these swearing in ceremonies taking place within a few weeks after the election. So I just said, well, maybe we need to have that discussion.
Okay. Alan, do you want to explain to us what would be the procedure if we did want to change that 4 years from now?
Well, we had done it as a package for the referendum. It wasn't a specific question that went to the voters, so we would be able to, on the Florida statutes, under our interpretation, be able to change the swearing in date without going back through a referendum. We could do it by ordinance. It would take obviously the amendment of the ordinance that sets that in place, which obviously takes 2 readings. But we most likely would be able to do that.
So are you wanting to do it for this cycle, Vice Mayor? Or if we did, we would have to put it on as a walk-on tonight. And then a second reading would be the first meeting of December. And it could take effect that night, the first meeting of December. That would give like a 30-day interim as opposed to a 60-day interim. Is that something that you would be interested in?
I mean, I actually think that that's fine. I actually don't see an issue with that. And then I think going forward, we might even want to shorten that time frame up to match the other municipalities that have the November election, and then within 2 weeks after they have the swearing in. I actually would be fine with that. I mean, I have no issue with that. How does everyone else feel?
Anyone have any thoughts? Commissioner Moritas, do you have any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
I do. So in terms of the group that had the swearing in, their new commissioners probably also started right after the swearing in, correct?
Correct.
So our new commissioners won't start till January. So I know we don't really want that 2-month lag, but would it be awkward for them to, let's say it wasn't us, we could have a party and swear ourselves in. So let's say it's a whole new group that comes in. Would we want them
Which
to
has
have-
happened before.
Right. Or even 1 or 2 or 3 new people, would we want them to have a ceremony and then say, okay, go home for 2 months? You're not really.
No, I think what
No.
he's saying
No,
is it would start, it's like if we did it this year,
they would take office.
we take office December.
We have always
Oh, they take
sworn in the commission a couple of weeks after the election. That's always been the case.
Right.
That municipalities do that. But in December of 2018, the suggestion came up that it should be changed to January to give commissioners more time to adapt to the office before they actually start working.
Right.
That was approved by the commission, and that's why the ordinance and the referendum were set that way. So that would be a change now back to the way things used to be, although it was back in March. Now it would be following. So typically, most municipalities follow the special laws that were enacted many years ago that sort of require that swearing in to be in, I think, 2 to 4 weeks after the election. We don't necessarily have to follow that after, not to get into the weeds, but there was a subsequent legislation by the Florida statutes when a lot of cities wanted to change their dates to November that allows us that flexibility to change those dates. So we are able to go back to 2 weeks or 3 weeks after the election, but we need to go through an ordinance process, publication, and all that stuff.
Okay.
So if we do a walk-on tonight, we'd have to publish it. We'd have to do a publication in between readings. It's kind of tough to do on a walk. We'll try to do it as a walk-on. It'll be sort of difficult. It's kind of a convoluted ordinance, but
Is there an appetite amongst the commissioners to want to accelerate it from our first meeting in January to our first meeting in December?
Yeah.
Mayor, I have a question, Mayor. Did we actually, when we had our March cycle, the swearing in was 1 or 2 weeks after the election?
2 weeks.
I'm trying to think back. I'm looking at the city clerk. I think it's between 1 or 2 weeks, but
It's 2 weeks. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Okay, because I thought the election was March 18th, and then the swearing in was like the 24th. Maybe I'm mistaken.
yeah,
It was quick.
if you recall, you're sworn in at the next meeting
Next commission meeting after the vote.
after the vote. So
So 2 weeks.
First
2
commission
weeks.
meeting after the vote.
correct.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. I don't know why we would want a 2-month lag in between the election and the swearing in. So I'm fine with moving it up and doing it as a walk on. It still wouldn't be 2 weeks this time. It would be a month, but
Well, I think
then the next
well, we would have to.
time, I think it should be 2 weeks.
go ahead, Alan.
We would have to, since if we change the ordinance, it would have to be going forward. So we would have to pick a date, whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the election, although we've passed that time at this point. So that in the future time, if you don't want it to be a month afterwards, we need to pick the date that we want.
Okay, I think a month afterwards is really appropriate because it gives newcomers time to acclimate themselves,
Mhm.
just to, readjust their regimens, whatever they're going on in their private life versus, their new public life. And, coming off of an election, there is an unwinding process as we, so I think that a month I always thought 2 weeks was much too short. And if we could do it for a month, I would advocate that. Anybody else on the commission have an opinion on this?
So we're going to say not the first commission meeting after the election, but the
Second.
second commission meeting after the election, the new group would take effect, which would mean we take effect tonight.
December. Ben, did you? I
Or
see you took
tonight,
yourself-
tonight, really. Right? Isn't this the second meeting after the election?
Yep, I just, so, yeah, I've never understood why there was a 2-month lag. So I think, yes, 3 weeks is good and sufficient amount of time. So I think we should move forward to try to have that.
First meeting in December.
Yep.
Mackenzie?
I concur with you all.
All right.
I just left the city of Lauderdale swearing in.
Oh, nice.
All right. So can you make that happen?
So you want the first
Your
meeting in
crack team,
December?
are they
Yeah,
available?
Crack team, yes. There we go. So do we want the first meeting in December or do we want the second meeting after the election? Because technically, like this year, we had our meeting the
We already had
Thursday.
it.
It could be either or, so it'll vary a bit. But
Yeah, we
because
moved
remember,
it.
we do have that charter provision where you have to have that last meeting an hour before the new meeting.
Right.
But we have that process we still have to go through, so it should be on a meeting day, obviously.
Right. So let's just do it the first meeting of December.
So, all right.
Okay, great.
So do we have a ceremony the first meeting of December?
Sorry,
Do we have a ceremony the first meeting of December?
we could.
Okay, since we're going to be taking over,
Well,
or is that too much for Phil? Sorry, Phil.
well, let's see what we can do with the order, because it won't officially be passed until that meeting.
Right. But we
And
can
have a party
Hey.
before we vote?
we can still make a plan. It's just an event.
We just have to plan around the clerk, and I have to plan around that charter meeting that we have to have the final business of the old commission into, and then step into the new commission. So we'd have to be able to coordinate that before passage of the ordinance.
Maybe nobody wants to come in anyway, so maybe that's.
Or that could be
premature.
one of the last acts of the ordinance. Perhaps that could be the last act of the old commission and then the new commission. So we'll have to think that out.
Okay.
Yeah, do it all that night. I think it makes sense. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, because at least in this instance, the old commission is the new commission.
Right.
Anything else, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, the other question that's going to come up is, we may not be able to do the swearing in virtually. That may have to be in person. I have not looked at that issue.
Okay,
We could probably
That's
do
a different story.
that's different.
Yeah. So we'll have to look into that as well.
Okay.
we could do it in individual rooms or something. I mean, if people want to be separate.
Anything else, Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Mayor.
Last night at my I'm sorry?
I was asking
ahead,
a question to the
Commissioner.
mayor or either staff. When it was one election cycle where I thought we came in person, got sworn in, and then we started the meeting.
That's correct, Commissioner. That's set out in the charter. So you have that final meeting of the old commission, and then immediately thereafter or shortly thereafter, you have the actual meeting of the new commission. So that's how the charter sets it out.
Okay, so we can come in.
Right.
And we can have the meeting and then start the new meeting. Can we do them all at the same time?
Yes, it would be all on the same day, like you did this last go around where we
Right.
had the Playhouse. We did sort of
That's what I'm referencing.
and
right.
then we came back here to chambers and had the full meeting. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chris, can you hear me?
I can, and the mayor has left. So yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Okay, good. I'll just finish this off with, last night at my pre-agenda meeting, we had a long discussion about events in the city. So maybe you can help with this, Chris. There was mention about the Brazilian festival, and people are saying, well, why, if this is not safe for Pompano Beach, is it safe for Fort Lauderdale? So I'd love to hear the reason for that, because that was a topic of conversation. And then there were many subsequent comments about some of the events that we've recently experienced in Fort Lauderdale, lack of masks, lack of social distancing. And then people are saying some events are done better than others. Some of the promoters do a better job of enforcing what it was that they presented as their safety protocols. Some do not. What is the city doing with regards to enforcement? As we know right now, the numbers are heading not in a good direction. So these are the kinds of questions that did come up last night about city events right now and that approval process, and why, for instance, are some held to a certain standard, and what are we doing to enforce that safety protocol, Chris?
Right, so I'll start, and then maybe I'll turn it over to Phil for some continued follow-up. I do agree with you, Vice Mayor. There are some promoters that are doing it more in line with what they represent than others. We do have our ability to enforce, and our enforcement typically comes in the form of encouragement as opposed to actual enforcement. As you know, with the fines suspended, we do a lot more good encouraging than we do trying to take a heavy-handed approach. I can tell you, I talked to the county administrator yesterday. The county still is in the approval path of special events based upon the emergency declaration. And Bertha was quite candid with me and said that she was going to be more difficult to get an event approved in Broward County going forward until the numbers start to turn a different direction. So even to the extent that we approve special events, and there's some on the agenda tonight, I am not holding out a lot of hope that those events actually occur if they can get through the county's permitting process. Let me turn it over to Phil with respect to that Brazilian festival. That is an item that was in front of the commission a couple meetings ago. They do, in fact, have county approval to move forward with their event. I think the reason that it was a much larger event planned when it was in Pompano. Those numbers, based upon the application, look to be a much smaller event in Fort Lauderdale. And in fact, the park that it be held in is much smaller. So, Phil, you know that event better than probably I do. So why don't I turn it over to you and let you highlight what they've told you.
Thank you, Chris. And I did speak to the promoter this morning. And they are set to go at the park. And as Chris mentioned, they haven't been approved by the county. So at this point, we feel like they have shown that they can pull off the event in a safe manner at the park, understanding what they've promised to do, and that the county has approved it as well.
Can you, Chris, I wasn't here to hear the answer, but is the air show been approved by the county?
I don't believe it's been approved yet. I believe we'll either see, hopefully, an approval later today, excuse me, or tomorrow. But we're keenly watching that. I had a discussion with Bertha about it yesterday. She was not in the office yesterday, so I knew the approval wasn't going to come yesterday. But I'm hoping that we see something later today or tomorrow.
Okay, so going forward, is this going to affect our Light Up Fort Lauderdale events? Is this going to affect, I understand the infection rate has been percolating up. It's almost double what it was just 2 months ago. So, so where do we stand on some of these things?
So I think more affected are those that would come and make application for a special event with us. I could let Alan maybe take a swing at whether or not these light up events are technically events or if they're just us lighting up portions of Fort Lauderdale in a festive environment. So I think there might be a distinction drawn there. But I think it is going to be difficult if the county becomes more stringent in their approval, and maybe we should be too. Looking at special events at this point going forward, probably going to be harder to get approved.
It's difficult to determine. It's obviously going to depend on how I hate to use the word event is organized, or how that is interpreted by the county. I mean, we're really in uncharted territory. So if it's a matter of announcing that we're lighting up trees and some ornaments and things of that sort at a particular location at a particular time, but not making any special, there's no music, there's no invitation for everyone to just show up. Is that really an event? It could be seen that way. There's really no criteria to determine what an event is or is not, and what constitutes, an actual event versus a non-event. So we'd have to look at it. Obviously, anything that's in a large scale would obviously be seen as an event. To the extent we can control crowds or the amount of attendees, that certainly weighs in favor of saying it's not really an event. But it's going to be on a case by case basis, I think.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, no, thank you. Mayor, I had mentioned that this was a topic of conversation at my pre-agenda meeting last night. People felt that enforcement and some of our recent events in the city was not there. There was a lot of concern about lack of masks, social distancing. As I said, they were concerned when they read the article about the Brazilian festival not happening in Pompano because they thought it wasn't safe, and yet it's happening here. So people just seem to want to get a sense now with the numbers going in the wrong direction. What are our intentions with regards to these events, and how are we going to be making sure that, people do what's necessary so that they're safe events as well. But no, I understand those answers. So thank you. I think it's just something we need to be cognizant of. Thanks. That's it from me, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Before, let me just, this is a good time to really ask the question. Going forward, we probably need to be more circumspect in the events that we choose to approve. And I understand in the mayor's call yesterday that the county had, that Dr. Thachi seemed to indicate that the boat show did not impact the infection rate in the community. But keep in mind that the boat show, undertook significant safety precautions in order to carry out the event. We're not seeing that. The exotic car show was totally devoid of those safety precautions. The art show on Las Olas tried to. I would say that it was better than the exotic car show, but needless to say that we need to be responsible as well. We thought we were doing well when the infection rate was 2 and 3%. And I'm not saying that any of these events are ever a cause for the increase, but we do have a community-wide increase. And I know all eyes are on our city for allowing these events to take place. And I certainly don't want our city to be the source of the increase in the infection rate. Having said that, I put that word out to the public so that people understand that they should think twice about wanting to have an event under these circumstances, because I think that the city is going to be a little bit more careful about what kinds of events we're going to have. The Brazilian festival, I mean, what protocols did we insist on? Is there someone going to be monitoring the event so that to ensure that people are going to be keeping their face masks on? Same with the air show. Is there someone out there, especially in these hospitality tents, to ensure that face masks are always going to be worn, even though it's outdoors? Where are we with what? Phil, I guess you'd be monitoring that. Where are we with that?
So Mayor, we pretty much at this point take the promoters for their word, understanding that what they have promised to do. Typically at the events, we do have detailed officers there that are more, for security wise, but we do not have people, we have not had people at the events that are monitoring the CDC guidelines. I mean, so it really has been up to the promoters to do what they've been told to do.
And we're finding out that isn't always honored. And when police officers would tell you correctly that that's not their job. And they're just there to provide security, not to ensure risk safety for COVID-19 situations. So can we change that? Can we be insistent that there be ambassadors or monitors, or if you're going to get the city to sign off on an event, can't we require that other than through an honor system?
So I don't know if I want to defer to the city manager on this, on what we'll require them to do and how many and things like that, but we can definitely look into it, Mayor.
And I think we can. I mean, we have the latitude to require those types of things. And with any event we approve, we can, require certain parameters. The trick becomes, it still becomes just an encouragement event, because unless Alan tells me we can do more than just encourage at this point, we don't have the ability to fine.
No, we can't find the individuals. Well, it depends who you ask. The county thinks they can, but we can certainly go after the promoter.
But for example, when an application comes in, shouldn't we look for a line item for an expense for ambassadors? We're going to hire 20 people for the course of the day to ensure compliance with the face mask order. Doesn't mean we're going to fine them. It doesn't mean we're going to do anything other than expect them to comply on the honor system. But if we actually see a line item with the expense for it, at least we know that they're making accommodation for it.
We can be as restrictive as we want to be.
Right.
So we can put whatever conditions on there that we want. So that we're not precluded from doing that. And even to the extent a promoter does not comply, we do have some recourse against the promoter, although there's some arguments that may be there, which I'm not going to get into here because I don't want to publicize that. But I think we have a better chance after the promoter. Individuals are a different story because of the governor's order. But certainly if a promoter is going to represent, they're going to do something and they don't, there's some recourse there.
All right. So tonight, when we give approval for an event, it's not outside of our authority to request that, even for the events we're talking about tonight.
Correct.
And that was one of the big things that made the boat show successful, is they had people walking around that had red shirts on that said COVID ambassador.
Exactly.
That's what they were tasked with doing.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
Mayor,
and Alan,
Mayor.
is it possible for us to take a COVID, like a security deposit, a COVID deposit, and with the explicit understanding that if criteria is not followed, then that deposit will not be refunded?
Yeah, that would constitute a fine. Before I don't know. I'd have to think about that because there's implications there. There's First Amendment issues. I'd have to think about that one. I'm not entirely
Mayor.
sure.
Mayor,
Yes.
I want to go back to what you said. I think you're hitting the nail on the head, which is, for example, the boat show was private, enclosed in their own footprint, and they used their own staff to enforce. So let's go to the air show. If we do that, there's only the VIP area that is enclosed from the public. Then the piece outside of that is general public, which is typically crowded. Who polices it? We do. If we put into play what you're recommending, which is during the application to charge the event holder or of this event. So yeah, who's gonna take on that responsibility of the enforcement?
Well, with regard to the enclosed area, we can certainly do the same thing we did with the boat show, which is make it a condition precedent and a requirement for carrying out the boat show. But people who want to observe the air show from the open space of the beach, I think it just falls right back on the city to anybody going out in the public or going to the beach, we require people to wear masks. In fact, it's a county order since April 11th. So, but Alan, you're going to tell us that we can't enforce it, right?
Against the
because,
individual.
for example, Mayor, I was on the beach this weekend, right? On the
Right.
sand, and there were no masks other than mine. So I'm not trying to make mockery. I'm not trying to.
Has merit. What you're saying is merit because are we too lackadaisical in terms of trying to ensure the safety of people? I don't think we have been, but going forward, I think we have to understand.
Exactly.
We have to build it in and not rely on the honor system because this exotic car show certainly points out the fact that not everybody's going to be reliable when it comes to enforcing the COVID-19 requirements. So with regard to the Brazilian festival, which is on the agenda tonight, I think they need to be prepared to make their presentation so that we feel comfortable that we're not going to expose the rest of the public to the spread of the virus unless they provide the protocols and the enforcement mechanisms in order to ensure the safety of the public at large. So I agree with you 100%.
The one thing I want to clarify there, Mayor, is the Brazilian festival has already been to us. It was to us 2 meetings ago.
But
So
aren't they coming again tonight?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I
No.
thought that they were.
They've been sending letters seeking other support for their event, but they've already been through the approval
Right. I
process
know they've already been
with
approved.
us and the
Yeah.
county. So
And keep in mind also that we have language in all the approvals that we've had for any of these events that if COVID issues prevent the event from happening, we can pull the plug. Obviously, if we're not satisfied with the way that they're going to procure they're going to run their operation, we can pull the plug on that as well.
So maybe that message needs to get out to them sooner than later. That
Still not clear, Mayor, what the Brazilian festival is going to do to prevent COVID spread. I haven't heard that or seen that, and maybe I've just missed it.
I think what we're trying to say is that the people who participate in the event need to wear face masks.
I don't think that's enough, Mayor.
Well, what else can we do? It's an open air festival.
Yeah, so I think there's a bunch of things we can do. I think we have to mandate that they have people who are there who are policing that policy.
Well, no, yeah, I agree. I agree with you. That's, you're absolutely correct. We need
Right.
to know that there's going to be a detail, not so much police detail, but even their own folks to to be able to go up to people and say, you got to put a face mask on or keep your mask on or whatever, and have the authority to tell them they have to leave if they're not complying. So, because our police officers are not there for that purpose. They're there
Right.
to just provide security. So yeah, you're right. There's a whole
So
list.
is that going to happen at the Brazilian festival?
Say it again.
Is that going to happen at the Brazilian festival?
So the way I can answer that, commissioners, that item was before this commission for approval as a special event on October the 20th. Their site plan does indicate things that they have in place to be able to create a safe event during this COVID time. So it does not, at this point, talk about COVID ambassadors. We could have a conversation with them to see if they would voluntarily do it. But at this point, that is an event that's already approved to move forward and already has county approval as well. So I'll send you the site plan here in just a minute so you can get a sense as to what they put into it.
Where is it, Chris?
My point is,
Where's it been
we are
held?
meeting our expectations and guidelines due to the dynamic nature of COVID spread. We have the authority and ability to cease that event from happening. Isn't that right?
That's what Alan just told us. You're right.
You're
Thank
correct. You just have to do it
So-
across the board. So you have to be consistent. That's the only caveat is you have that authority because we can be more restrictive than the county. However, we have to be consistent.
So hearing that they've got a site plan and they're gonna, try to do their best, it for me is not sufficient. So they need to do more, at least for me to be comfortable that this is going to be a safe event.
Where's it been held?
It's at Heisinger
Heisinger.
Park, right?
Correct.
Say Heisinger Park. Okay. All right.
How many people are they limiting
Yeah.
access to? Is access going to be controlled? Is it not? How? I mean, just all these multiple pieces.
I think their application shows it's limited access and there is there an admission to this? I don't think there's.
There is, and one of the things that they have in their plan is that there's no tickets sold at the event itself. You have to have a ticket before you can show up to the event.
And I think there's a limit to the number of people at one time, correct?
They've indicated here that on each of the 2 days, both Saturday and Sunday, they anticipate no more than 1,500 people in any single day over the course of a day, not necessarily at one time.
Any other questions, Commissioner Sorensen?
So
Chris.
I don't know. Again, this is not sufficiently allaying my concerns. So how will my concerns be allayed?
Let me say something that might help, Commissioner. Is there a gate or a perimeter fence for this event?
I am looking at a map that shows their site plan does show that the sidewalk will remain open, but that there is a barrier around the park.
So there's a barrier. It could be easily policed by them if staff reaches out and just makes sure that that's correct about the perimeter fence. And they could do something similar to the boat show, Mayor.
I think that would be a goal. So can we reach out to them and let them know what our feelings are so that we can feel safe that the event can still be fun and open and, a good time without spreading any disease if it's just done the right way.
Right.
And
Is that okay, Commissioner Sorensen?
So those are all good ideas, but we need more than good ideas to hold people accountable. So
I agree
Mayor?
with you.
commitment, we need a commitment from these folks. And this is supposed to be when? This
week.
No, the 12th and the 13th.
When is it? It's
12th, I thought.
The 12th and the 13th of December.
December, excuse me.
So,
But Mayor,
Yes, sir.
also, I'm sorry to interrupt, Commissioner Sorensen, my apologies. Also know though that on that same Sunday, the 13th, I believe tonight in front of us are two more events on that day. The 5K on the beach and American Social on Las Olas. That is a very busy day now of 3 big events in a short perimeter.
What is it?
Basically,
What is the American Social?
I'd have to
I-
pull that. That one is in front of you tonight. I'd have
I
to.
saw and I read it,
see
but
what the
I don't remember
specifics
that. I don't remember attending it in the past. Is this the first time we've done this? What's it?
This is Phil, Mayor. That is the event that happens next on the street next door to American Social on Thanksgiving weekend. So that is actually not on the 13th. I think it's Thanksgiving weekend. It's blocking the street to the east of American Social down on Los Olas.
So it's a block party.
Correct, and they've been doing that for years.
Okay. They never invited me. That's why I've never heard of it.
What I'm sharing from my screen, Mayor, just so that the commission can see it. This is the site plan for the Brazilian Fest that was submitted as a part of their COVID plan to both us and Broward County as to how the event would be
So they
laid
do
out.
have a barricade around the perimeter.
Correct.
Limited access. Okay. Any other
that
questions?
might work if they can police it within, have someone going around tapping folks on the shoulder.
I think that's a good idea. So we'll encourage that, and we'll definitely be in touch with them to ensure that they have something like that. Because honestly, we'd like to see them come back next year and the year after. I think it's great that they wanted to host the Brazilian Festival here in Fort Lauderdale, and with the diversity of cultures that we emerge in, I welcome the idea that the Brazilian folks want to have their festival here in Fort Lauderdale. Let's do whatever we can to invite them, to encourage them, also to ensure that it's going to be a safe event, and that whether we don't know what a year from now is going to be like, but we'd like to make sure that it's an enjoyable event for everybody to attend, and to do it safely so that it's not a super spreader like it could be if it's not properly monitored and maintained. Okay, are you finished, Vice Mayor?
Let me just put a finer point on that. I guess I'm not communicating. So every large scale event in my mind, and I may, let me know if you all think I'm off, but every large scale event should have a COVID plan that's kind of COVID mitigation plan that's part of it. The Brazilian Festival, for me at this point, I am not seeing any clear plan and way to kind of police and address mask wearing, not mask wearing, social distancing. So for me to be comfortable, what I'd like is by tonight, for the producers or event promoters to provide that detailed information and agreement that they will abide by to further clarify how they're going to mitigate this.
You think that's possible, Phil, for that message to be sent to them? They should have this in place already, honestly.
Yes. So we'll reach out. So what I can say is everything that's been mentioned today, besides the COVID ambassadors, is part of their plan that's reviewed by the county as far as what they have set up for COVID. The only thing I don't believe is in the county's COVID review and approval process is actually having the ambassadors on site to require that what they said they're going to do. So understanding the commission's direction, I'll reach out to not only the Brazilian Festival, but also the individuals that are on tonight, any other events that this may impact, and let them know that that's part of our requirement.
Yeah, Phil, thank you. I think that'd be really good. Just for the time being, each promoter of each event, I think, should be on with us live at the commission meeting to answer those questions, and so that we get a clear agreement and understanding of what their COVID mitigation plan is.
So the two that's on the agenda tonight are aware, and I will make sure that the gentleman for the Brazilian Festival is on tonight as well. That way, if you have anything that you want to discuss with him or say to him in person, I'll have him there as well.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Mayor.
Very well.
And I think Commissioner Sorensen's idea is a good, and it needs to be applicable for all events coming forward now.
That's what he said. That's what Commissioner Sorensen said, and I think
Yeah.
we're in agreement there. Okay, are you finished with your report, Vice Mayor?
Yes, I actually have been. I think we were on someone else's, but yes, thank you,
No,
Mayor.
I had stopped because I wanted to get some clarification with regard to the Brazilian Festival.
Yes, I was finished. Thank you.
Kinsey. You're on mute. Commissioner McKenzie, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor. I don't have a report, but I do want to reach out to staff, city manager, Raj, Public Works, and police for their immediate response to the flooding in Melrose Manors and Melrose Park. I think the post mitigation was very good. I want to thank them for going over and beyond to address this issue that we had as a result of the flooding. We had three different occasions of flooding, so I guess we learned from the first one around October 20th, and we were able to come back when the storm came and really do a good job at getting the water out of the streets. It took a long time, and just mitigating some of the issues that we had over there. And I toured the area yesterday, and it looks real good. I know we have a long-term plan we're going to talk about later on under the city manager's report. I just want to thank staff for what they did in terms of responding.
Chris, are you going to talk about this under your report? Okay. Okay. Commissioner Sorensen.
Great. Thanks, Mayor. Want to start off with a really, really great win for our city and residents, and want to thank everyone on the commission and staff for their support and work of this. We have successfully collaborated with the FAA to change flight paths out of Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. To have accomplished this is just amazing. So as you all know, and I've brought up before this, there's multiple projects that are underway with the FAA, something called Metroplex and something called Part 150 study. You all helped and encouraged and supported us hiring a law firm to help guide us, a consultant to help do the crunch the data, amazing neighborhood support on the east side of the airport and the west side. And the FAA has released their updated environmental assessment, which is not a final finding, but is very close to it. And I'll save all the technical jargon, but basically they are increasing the distance of a waypoint, which is a point by which planes have to fly by before vectoring north or south. So on the east side of the airport, they're moving it 0.6 of a mile, basically east into the ocean, which allows for significant reduction of overflight around Harbor Beach, Harbor Inlet, and some of Harbordale communities there. And then on the west side, they're moving the waypoint 1,400 feet basically west, which doesn't sound like much, but when you combine that with taking off from RNAV, which is kind of a directional finding when the planes take off and land, it is going to lead to significant reduction over Lauderdale Isles and some of our western neighbors, as well as be a very much positive for plantation. So this is a huge win. The law firm that has been working with us and collaborating with us and with the FAA said they've never seen anything like this. And the FAA has been so collaborative and helpful in working with us, multiple phone calls. The neighbors helped drive this. So I'm just very, very appreciative. We got to stay on this because it's not final. So we want to continue to track this. We want to continue to monitor it. We're going to have to evaluate flight paths post-implementation, which will be in 2021. So we'll still need our attorney and consultant kind of working with that and navigating that. But this is an amazing, amazing direction. Congressman Deutsch was incredibly helpful on this. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, county, city leaders, Alan Boileau did an amazing job helping guide this, as did Chris. So Mayor, I want to share that win with you.
Well, I just want to say that, this has been an issue that's been going on for like 20 years. And I just want to know what took you so long. But
exactly. I had to get elected first, people.
I'm telling you, but you do get things done. So I'm just happy to see that. And but I know the neighbors in the community have been really begging for this for the longest time. And to be able to adjust flight patterns is not an easy thing. But having an airport so convenient for everybody else, but so obnoxious to those that live in and around the airport, hopefully this is a win-win for everybody and it still maintains safety standards for those traveling in and out of our city.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for all.
Oh, no, thank you, Mayor. And also I forgot to mention Mark Gale, director at the airport, very supportive and I mean, so we just had really good collaboration from the county and everyone in between. So just really, really great news, and I'll keep you all updated. So I want to share that. Next piece, Mayor, is I got a couple texts about this, and I guess this is probably more appropriate for Alan to weigh in on. It's in Vice Mayor's district, but I don't know. Folks were texting me. I don't know why, but there's a adult toy store going up on Las Olas and A1A, and there's concern about that. Alan or Mayor, do you want to guide us on that?
I'll defer to the city manager. It's more of a zoning issue we'd have to look at.
Okay.
Right. So, yeah, Commissioner. So we're looking at that. I've got a couple of, with the pictures I've seen of it, I've got a couple of concerns that maybe the signs don't match our code, and not entirely sure yet that the use is in fact a permitted use on the barrier island. So I'll know before the end of today. So I'll update you all.
Where exactly is this store?
Right at Las Olas and Almond Avenue.
In Almond Avenue.
Yeah, Almond and Las Olas, Mayor. We've all been getting plenty of correspondence about that, Commissioner Sorensen, and we had a good discussion about it at my pre-agenda meeting last evening. And I already have spoken with Chris about that. He's checking.
I'm checking. I do know that the phone number that's listed goes to a barbecue restaurant. So
is that an all-you-can-eat?
I know it's not a buffet in COVID times.
Okay.
All right. So they're certainly taking retail in the wrong
Right.
direction. That's not what we're looking for. I remember the debate we had when Hustler Hollywood was wanting to locate where the former Peaches Records and Tapes was. I know I had voted against that. I was outvoted, but somehow that slipped in. So, certainly if you could get back to us on that, we would appreciate it.
I will.
Great, thank you. Another question, Mayor, I just want to bring back our discussion of the leaf blowers.
Yes.
I know we had talked about kind of going back and thinking about that, talking about that. I didn't know when you wanted to bring that discussion back.
Well, we could bring it up now. So last time we spoke about it, I think I had requested everybody go back into the community and begin a conversation on it to hear feedback and maybe we should make it an agenda item at a future conference meeting. And Alan, you are going to also research the viability of having such an ordinance. I know there are other communities that do have them in place. People have been sending me, maybe you as well, has been sending me emails with ordinances from other communities around the country that have leaf blower ordinances in place. And I still would like to see it, especially in light of all the flooding we've had and how difficult it is to keep our storm drains clean all the time with the amount of debris that gets blown into these storm drains. It's just getting impossible to keep up. So I'm personally still in favor of it. In fact, I got an email today that someone said they voted for me only because I was in favor of eliminating leaf blowers. So it's a very emotional topic. We have people on the other side who said they voted against me because I advocated leaf blowers. So I think that it merits an open discussion, that we can have public comment. And would you agree that we should make it an agenda item at a future conference meeting, Commissioner? And that way everyone.
That's a good idea. It gives notice, and yes.
Okay, so can we do that? Thank you.
Hey, Commissioner Sorensen.
Yep.
I've been getting a lot of feedback as well, and not so much for as opposed, but the landscapers reached out to me. And maybe if we get some of a person from that profession to spearhead and maybe bring us some other alternatives or perspectives of what, where, how we can address the issues that we all have in terms of leaf blowers.
And
Certainly.
that would be a good opportunity for people to step up and speak if we have it at agenda items, because it
Yeah.
allows the public comment.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
very good.
Great, thank you. Excellent. And sticking on the COVID-19 theme, can Alan or Chris, can you give us an update, just reminding us all what powers do we have in terms of enforcement? What can we be more stringent on? You know, just give the public an update there if you could, please.
Well, you can, for the most part, you can be more stringent than the county or the state. That's a given. With regards to enforcement, as you know, the governor had issued an order with regards to businesses where we cannot prevent any business from operating or from someone essentially working in the business. So we can't shut down businesses as we had earlier on when we had some folks that just refused to comply. We can find businesses, so that's fine. It becomes trickier with individuals. The governor's order, and there's some dispute because of the language of the governor's order that indicates that we cannot fine or penalize individuals or collect fines or penalties from individuals related to COVID-19. Some have interpreted that to mean that we can cite people, but just not collect the fines until a later date, which doesn't make much sense, or that you can't do it altogether. So enforcement against individuals are a little bit more difficult, but currently we're writing under the county's orders with regards to, I know there's been a lot of question with regards to gatherings coming up in the next few weeks, but we're still operating under those. As to enforcement, you know, we obviously respond to complaints and we enforce where we can, but we do have some of our hands tied. Enforcement is a bit of a challenge.
Okay, so I just want to understand the levers we have. So, for example, events, we can cancel events if we want, right, Alan?
Correct.
Okay. Hours of operation, is that something we have any ability to do for businesses?
That's debatable. We, again, without sort of projecting what arguments could be lodged against us, that there's an argument out there that we can, and there's also a good argument that we can't. So I'll kind of leave it at that. But that's a little trickier one because you're dealing with the operation of a business, and it depends on the nature of the business. A nightclub obviously operates at a different time than a restaurant would. So their ability to perform their business as usual would depend on the hours obviously being different. So that it's not an easy answer on that one.
So great. So what I'm hearing you say is per the state, the governor's order, we're probably limited in being able to restrict business hours.
Right. As the county, we initially did the midnight time frame, and then the county followed up and matched our time as well. No, we have not received any pushback on that I'm aware of. I mean, we have some complaints, obviously, but not any legal pushback. So we've stayed to that. But any further restrictions, I think, would stir the pot a bit and possibly lead to some legal challenges.
Okay.
Commissioner, are you obliquely trying to reference bar owners that are concerned that we have a midnight closure time when many of the bars don't even begin to open till 10 or 11? Is that what you're talking about? And whether or not we have the authority to limit it at midnight?
I'm just trying to get clarity on all that, Mayor. I just want to,
the county kind of superseded our order. The question is, do they even have the authority to do what they did? If there are people in the governor's office who seem to think they don't have that authority, that the governor said you cannot interfere with the operation of a business, and that would include hours of operation. So like Mr. Boileau said, it's kind of a gray area. We kind of are riding under the impression that we can limit the hours of operation. And so midnight is now the hours of operation. We don't have a curfew in Broward County like they do in Miami-Dade. So if you are at a restaurant or a bar at midnight, you don't have to be home in bed by 12. You know, the bar can stay open or the restaurant can stay open till 12, And but you do have to leave after that. The bar has to close, or the restaurant has to close at that time. They can't be serving either. Now, I know some municipalities, such as Wilton Manors, allow bars to remain open, but they're not allowed to serve alcoholic beverages. They serve water, they serve soft drinks. So they are allowed to stay open after the midnight hour. You know, whether or not they're adding a little vodka to that soda, I don't know. But that's how each municipality is interpreting the governor's order.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. And I'm assuming, Alan, the same goes for capacity. In other words, the city is limited in trying to limit capacity, even if they wanted to.
Correct. Capacity, pretty much, the governor's order was pretty clear on that there has to be substantial, or there has to be substantial justification for being able to do that. The county has attempted to do that, but it's very difficult in the way the governor's order, the requirements that the empirical evidence you need to have in your order to justify that. But both the county and the city, to a certain extent, have interpreted the order to allow, however, certain restrictions, obviously COVID restrictions within those establishments. So distancing, for example, mask wearing, things of that sort are still things that we can regulate, because even though it may somewhat impact the operation of the business, it doesn't shut it down or prevent the operation. It just sort of minimizes the impact of COVID. So we are still regulating those things within the restaurant. The county goes a little bit further and has, you know, some plexiglass requirements and some other things that aren't necessarily contained in our declaration, but certainly employees, patrons, they have to abide by the facial coverings and so on and so forth. Again, becomes a challenge for us, although it's easier with restaurants and business establishments, because we can, if an establishment just flagrantly does not care about the regulations, we can go after that business and issue fines against them. We just can't enforce against the individuals that may not be doing that. But those businesses have the option of trespassing those folks and having them removed from the property if they refuse to abide by the regulations.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah. And the reason for me going through this is just making sure this is a very fluid, dynamic kind of statutory world with this. So I just want to make sure we're all, you know, on the same page and understanding. Basically, we have very limited options here for further restriction in large part. Okay,
Commissioner
great.
Sorensen,
So-
I wanted to add one follow-up of a restriction that I've been working on recently. You know, our vacation rentals are still restricted, though, the amount of people they can have in them. I was working with one home that may have had the intention of having a party with, you know, more than with about 80 people. And so I was working with Alan, and the vacation rentals currently can't have more than, is it 10 people, Alan?
Correct. Yeah. And they has the amount, the folks that are within the vacation rental have to be limited to those that have registered, you know, through the reservation process.
Mm-hmm.
So if they cannot use a vacation rental for any sort of events or any kind of party.
Okay, so just in your area, because I know you struggle with it too, if you have any of these homes that are prone to having parties, that's definitely not allowed. And I did have a neighborhood request to have a block party also. And the feedback I got from city staff was neighbors cannot have block parties either. So those are two other restrictions you can take with you.
Yep. Great, thank you. Then, Kristen, I have a question for our arborist, Mark, if we can get him on the line, please.
I do not know if he's dialed in. Let me look.
Yeah, thanks. And then while we're working on that, I had a question for Ben Rogers, if we can get him on the line.
Ben is behind me.
Oh, great.
He's in the room. He's making his way to the podium. I do not see Mark logged into the meeting. We can take your question. We'll see if we have somebody that can answer it. If not, we'll get back to you.
That's great. That sounds good. So I'll go with Ben Rogers first. Thanks, Ben. Question here. We've been working on this for a bit. Riverland Road and the Riverland Road project, and Karen's been working on it. And it's largely, I think, so MPO was involved with it a little bit when we were partnering with them. I think FDOT's now the driving agency. I just wanted to get a sense of if you're aware kind of where we are with that and who at FDOT we can keep kind of coordinating to kind of move this project forward, because we've been waiting for a bit.
Yeah, absolutely, Commissioner. Ben Rogers, Transportation Mobility. For Riverland Road, there's multiple projects going on right now. There's the Tiger Grant, which is FDOT and the MPO. And that is, I believe, set to start in January of this coming year.
Yep.
Second project is the city's traffic calming efforts. I think we have $250,000 or $300,000 that we earmarked for the design of that. And right now we are working with our procurement team to finalize some agreements so then we can solicit and find the design consultant for that.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to follow up with you, Ben, and send an email. If you can just, you and Karen can just help us kind of capture that, all those timelines, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
We're just tracking that. Great. Thank you. Then Alan, Chris, the question for Mark revolves around Spanish moss, which when I was growing up in Gainesville, Florida, there's a lot of that there. And one of the concerns is I think it's actually a parasite. I think it has some negative impact on trees. Anyway, the question that a resident is asking is that something we need to look at in terms of addressing somehow?
Do we have a proliferation of Spanish moss?
So yeah, I would have no idea how to answer that question. So
Yeah.
we'll get back to you.
We'll get back with Mark. Okay, great. Thank you. And let me just see if I've got anything else. I think that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just want to point out a few things. This past week, I attended the funeral for Margaret Haney Birch. It reminded me during the course of the funeral, Mrs. Birch was a strong advocate. She was obviously an educator. She taught for many years. She was a principal. But she was also a strong advocate for the education portion of the new YMCA that's being built on Sistrunk Boulevard. And I was wondering if anyone would object to my recommending to the YMCA that a classroom be named after her. I think she would, I think it's an appropriate recognition of Ms. Birch, and I'd like to take that to the YMCA. Does anyone have any objection to that? Okay, great. I also attended, I guess tomorrow night is the opening of the Bodega Fort Lauderdale. I don't want to call it a Mexican restaurant because it's really more than that, but I did attend the soft opening last week. It's next to Society. That little corner is going to be a hot spot in Fort Lauderdale, I'll tell you, between the wharf, did it open the wharf this past weekend? I believe it did. Bodega, which is Jared Galblet, who opened a similar thing in Miami Beach, a very, very, very successful a restaurant, a bar. And now he's bringing that concept to Fort Lauderdale. That's opening tomorrow. I think tonight we're having a walk-on for sign approval. Is that still happening?
It is not. No, they're not ready to move forward. So we're working with them on some other options to be able to be noticed until they get to the next meeting.
Okay. All right. I also attended the garden party benefit at Birch State Park at the Terramar Lawn last week. Well-attended event, and really appreciate those folks keeping Birch Park as beautiful as it is. Let's see. On the 20th, which is, I believe, Friday, we're having the unveiling of a statue that the Society building is installing, which is right next to the, obviously it's in front of the building. It's in that corridor where the 9/11 monument is. Really interesting concepts that they bring to the downtown between the screen that they have that shields their parking garage, and now we have a three-dimensional sculpture. It's about 10, 12 feet tall. The theme is women empowerment, and it's really a wonderful addition to our downtown urban scene. Let's see. On the 21st, that's this Saturday, there's a food distribution to children whose families are experiencing homelessness at the Old Dillard Museum. And also that same day, as mentioned by Vice Mayor Glassman, there's a turkey giveaway at the Sanctuary Church. That same evening, I'll be attending a concert series at the Coral Ridge Presbyterian Church. Go figure. It's a holiday event, and very excited to be invited by the pastor to be able to attend that event. Anyone else interested in going, please let me know. And then, of course, we have Thanksgiving next week. I wish everybody a wonderful and healthy holiday. I think the CDC is asking everyone to stay home and don't invite your children from school, and just everyone should remain in place. It's kind of a weird time these days, but please be safe and ensure that you're keeping one another risk-free and safe from the spread of the virus. On December 1st, we'll be celebrating once again World AIDS Day. This event will be at the Galleria Mall. I've been asked to say a few words at the opening of the event. And then, of course, that same evening, we have Light Up the City with the simultaneous events across town, which I think are still being formulated. A couple of issues I'd just like to ask about. Alan, could you please give us an update on that Points of America issue of the beach access gate?
We are still, it was sort of a hefty title report that we're working on getting.
Goes back a few years.
It goes back a while, and we're trying to limit it instead of the whole parcel, is to sort of limit to the meets and bounds of the actual easement, so that we could limit it, because otherwise it would be even greater. So we're still working on that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And the rest, I think the city manager is going to talk about, so I'll defer to him. And I guess that's it. Okay.
Mayor, could I add one other event?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks. It's a Riverwalk event. It's Levitt Loves Lauderdale music series with the Shane Duncan Band at the Boathouse with appropriate inspectors, COVID inspectors, staff to limit access and so forth. So that is, let's see, Thursday, 6:30 p.m.
You say the Boathouse. Which boathouse are we talking about?
The Boathouse, the restaurant, the Boathouse.
Oh, the restaurant. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay. Anything further from the commission? Okay, we'll move on to business one. This is discussion rescheduling the city commission meeting dates for the 2021 holidays. Mr. City Manager.
Actually, the clerk is going to take the lead on this item.
This looks like if you go to the exhibit, it looks like a set of bingo cards.
There's actually a few commission meeting days that may conflict. Beginning in January, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is on the 18th, and there's a commission meeting would be the next day. That's in 2021, which is coming up here.
How is that a conflict?
It's that day is actually not a conflict, but in the past we have, not in the recent past, but in the past a while back, we would sometimes move that day to not be right after the holiday.
Does anyone is that going to interfere with anyone's agenda review meetings?
Is it it's a city holiday, so staff aren't available that day.
Is it a city holiday?
Yes.
It is a city holiday. Okay. Is it? I don't think it's a state holiday though.
Well, I don't think our staff are working regardless, right?
Just wondering. It's a city holiday, but not a state holiday. Okay.
It's a federal
think-
holiday.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's a federal holiday.
It's not a federal holiday. Is it a federal
It's
holiday?
not?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yes.
It is.
I know maybe you're right, because I know the banks are closed on that day.
It's a federal holiday.
It is a federal holiday,
Yes.
but not a state holiday. That's
I never heard of a state holiday.
No. Okay. So do you want to move it to the 20th, or do you want to keep it on the 19th?
Doesn't matter to me.
I don't have
Keep
pre
it.
I believe in the past, Mayor, we have the past few, we have kept it where it.
We kept it where it is. Okay. All right.
I think that's best.
All right. What's next?
And then in May, on May 18th.
Jeff,
Yes.
Can we go back to February? Can we do month by month?
Okay, what's in February?
Well, I'm just wondering why we always ignore President's Day is that a federal holiday? Why do we always ignore that in Fort Lauderdale?
What day is President's Day?
The 15th.
I believe it's Monday, the 15th, but why do we just ignore that all the time?
I don't believe the city has that day off.
It's not a city recognized holiday.
Okay, even though it's a federal holiday.
Right. There are no parades that day.
Well, okay, I
What do
guess
you,
I just don't understand the rationale.
what do you
I
recommend?
don't know why we don't celebrate. Well, why don't we celebrate federal holidays? If someone could help me understand that.
Chris, can you help us?
Yeah, so we've got a certain number of holidays every year, and every day that we take as a holiday has a financial impact, obviously, to the city. So, for whatever reason, President's Day in Fort Lauderdale has not been a recognized holiday for as long as I've been here, and I would have to then try to figure out why or when it might have been removed as a holiday. Has it ever been a holiday, Jeff, that you're aware of for the city?
It may have been.
Is that from before the Civil War?
Actually, I believe that it was a holiday and we swapped it for Martin Luther King Day many years back.
I believe that's correct, John.
Okay. So it's either or.
Yeah, keep in mind, Vice Mayor, that President's Day was not really President's Day until more recent times, because remember, it was originally Lincoln's birthday and Washington's birthday. And then instead of recognizing them separately, they chose to make it President's Day, right?
Yes, thank you. Actually, Lincoln's birthday was February 12th and Washington's birthday was February 22nd.
Correct. So they merged the two recognitions into one President's Day.
Okay.
All right.
But isn't
Again, I just don't understand why we don't follow federal holidays. But
Well, there's a reason. We're allowed. We budget for so many vacation days for city staff, and we substituted one for the other. That's the reason why.
It's also not been recognized as a holiday for
Okay.
purposes of our collective bargaining agreement. So we would
Is that
have
right?
to, yeah. So we would have to negotiate that into the CBAs. Not that I think anybody would object, but
yeah.
Chris,
Right.
if you get
Let's move forward. Come on.
Chris,
Um,
hold on.
What?
I've got some questions. Chris,
Oh, okay.
thank
On
you.
which month?
The President's Day. So, like, my kids go to Broward County Public Schools. I believe they're closed on President's Day. Do you know that? Yeah, it looks like they are. Is that something you're familiar with or aware of?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure Paul's school follows the Broward County Public Schools. I could pull up their calendar if you give me just a second.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at, let me see, 2021, February 15th. Is that what day we're
Yes.
The question is, do you want to? Okay, so the question is not whether or not we want to take Monday off. The question is, because our meeting is on the 16th, which is the next day, do we want to move our meeting over to the 17th? That's all that's at issue here right now.
No, well, okay. Well, I hear you, but I mean, in my perspective, that's one issue. And this has raised another issue in my mind, which is, should employees have the day off on President's Day?
Well, now you want to renegotiate the contracts with the police and fire department, as well as with
Federation teams.
right.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying that, but it's worth a discussion so that going forward, if the will of the commission is, hey, this is something we should look at taking off, then, going forward, that might be a day we should include in our bargaining agreement.
Okay.
So here's my perspective. Look, I'm a parent. I have kids at public school. They have off that day. I'm wondering, it can be a hardship for employees that have children at public schools that are working when their kids are not at school. That's a challenge.
Fair statement. It's very fair.
And so I was just wondering if, from Chris's perspective or any of ours perspective, if we hear that concern from city employees.
Do we hear that concern from city employees?
Maybe from a couple, but it's not an overwhelming concern. At least it's not one that's been brought to my attention. And candidly, as we've negotiated these contracts, every time we pick to have a holiday, it costs us over $300,000 to do that. So I more look at it from a finance perspective.
Yeah, I'd be concerned about that. Unless you want to
Well-
substitute another day, another holiday, and take away that holiday to replace it with President's Day. $300,000 is a big hit.
I think the commissioner has a legitimate concern because oftentimes we get inquiries as to why we don't have that day off. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I just think it's something that we need to be cognizant of. And when you think about the holidays that we do have, other than you all, city manager, city attorney, sitting in the bargaining agreements, we never really look at how these holidays impact the residents, impact employees as a whole. I mean, when was the last time we really looked at the holidays? I think probably the last time we revisited them was Martin Luther King becoming a federal holiday. So I do think it warrants taking a look at, and I do think it impacts a lot more of our employees than we think so.
Yeah, so I agree, Commissioner. And so maybe that's something, Mayor and Chris, that Tarlisha maybe engages with employees to kind of look at, hey, here are the holidays we have, and just kind of look at that further. Thank you.
Okay, so getting back to the point regarding the date of the commission meeting, are we good with keeping it on the 16th, or do you want to move it to the?
I'm good.
Yes.
You're good with that. Okay. Okay, now on to March. Do anyone have any questions regarding March? Okay. And are we having a St. Patrick's Day parade this year?
We haven't decided that yet. I think we're still a little too far out to make that decision, but there is a meeting on the topic later this week, and then when sort of a drop dead date is that we have to make a decision.
Okay. Into April. Any questions regarding April? Okay, none. May. May we have a Jewish holiday on the 16th and 17th, and then with the city commission meetings on the 18th. Stephen, will any observances of Shavuot?
No, I think you could be okay with Shavuos there. I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean it's a holiday, but it's not a major holiday. I think we just have to worry about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Okay. All right. Moving on to let's see. Moving on to June. Doesn't seem to be impacted by anything in June. Moving on to the second half of the year. We have in July, we have 4th of July. We usually have our meeting on the second Tuesday. Do you still want to do that?
Tuesday the 1st, I think. Yeah, we're off.
So Monday's the holiday, the 5th, right? So do you want to have the meeting on the 6th or the 13th?
6th.
6th.
Back us up a week.
Say it again?
Yeah, the 6th.
Yeah.
You want to have it on the 6th?
I'll be gone the 13th. I'll be gone the 7th.
Say it again?
I think. So I'll be gone on the 7th.
Is it all possible to have the meeting on the 1st of July?
I vote for that.
Given the proximity, I mean, it'd be nice just given the proximity to the holiday.
And then take the whole weekend off? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have no objection to that. You want to do it on the 1st?
Yeah. Alan, is that okay? I just want to.
Yeah, the only restrictions by the ordinance is that it'd be the 1st, and obviously you can deviate days, but it's the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays
Tuesday
of the month. So you have to stay pretty close to those. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
But we move the election day to the Thursday, the 5th.
Okay, so we can still do it. It's still
Yeah.
doable.
Let's do it.
As long as we notice it
Do it to
On the
July.
1st?
on the
Great.
1st. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And then going with August, can we push August to like a week later?
Like the 24th?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's see. So the 24th.
So
Keep in
before-
mind that that's also going to bump up to our budget hearings
Yeah,
too.
Laura wants to bring something up about July that makes good sense before we
Okay.
Yes, Laura,
beyond July.
you want to put your microphone on?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commission. The issue with July is that's when you set your maximum millage rates. And so we don't get the taxable values till July 1st.
Oh.
So
So that's
we
not
don't-
going to work, folks.
Yeah.
What time do we get them?
July 2nd.
We can
No,
ask,
what time on the 1st do we get them?
Right.
they just have
He's
to
just,
send
you
them
don't
to
have
us
to
on
answer
the
that.
1st.
You don't have to answer that. He's just being facetious.
I don't think he's.
Well,
here.
no, we,
No,
no.
to meet at 6
Ah,
o'clock at night. We got everything.
Well, Mayor, this
Because
is
I
not a
think
dictatorship,
next
Mayor.
I think
Mayor, we all have a voice. We all have a say. Alan
Oh.
and his crack team are getting the walk on tonight. Laura can take care of getting those values that day and bring it to us at night. Come on.
So you're telling us that you're suggesting that they can, if they get the values, say by noon that day, which I'm just using it as an arbitrary time, that you expect them to crunch all the numbers in a short period of time to be able to determine how will impact our ability to assess the millage rate for that year?
I'm sure there's a sneak preview of what those values are going to be way before July 1st, and we can have a couple of alternatives ready to go.
Can I get back to you with what we can do? I'll go with the property appraiser and let you know if that's doable.
Okay.
And it's not like we've changed our millage rate in the last 16 years.
Well, we are in the middle of COVID and we are going to anticipate some income irregularities. So I wouldn't want to anticipate what the outcome is going to be.
What about doing it that Friday the 2nd?
Yeah, we can do
What's that?
Friday. Friday
Do it then.
Yeah.
We could do it Friday the 2nd.
gives Laura a fun 24 hours.
Well, let's allow Laura to get back to us if you don't.
Yeah, let
mind.
us get back because it's Friday and we just couldn't overload the meeting. I don't want to go into Friday night with that.
Okay, let's let Laura, we can come back to this and Laura can make her recommendations, tell us how quickly they can assess the report from the property appraiser's office and see whether or not they can have the correct information available to us in a timely fashion.
Right. What about Commissioner Sorensen's idea about August moving it to the 24th?
Yeah, okay, that was going on to that now. Okay, so how will that impact our budget hearings?
And also your vacation, the time that you take off, because remember by charter, you're limited. You can't, the way we've calculated it a little bit, we do 4 weeks after the last meeting in July before your break, but it can't exceed that because the charter says you can't go more than 30 days, basically 4 weeks without a meeting. So we typically calculate that 4 weeks from the last meeting you've had in July, and then that would be, so as long as it doesn't go beyond that. I don't know exactly what the calculation would be, but that seems kind of far into August.
Well, if our meeting,
Alan, does that include weekends?
Yes. Yeah,
So-
we're looking at 4 weeks. So, right, it's not just business days.
Oh,
all right, so that wouldn't be possible according to the charter.
mm-mm. This is up in July.
Perhaps they can get back to us and come back to with a recommendation of what we can do. I mean, I'd like to stretch the vacation time, but if the charter says we can't do it, we can't do it unless we change the charter. Okay, September. Any concerns about September?
I think we're gonna have some with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
No, because
Rosh Hashanah starts on the evening of the 6th of September. So I think, so the 7th, the commission meeting on that first day of Rosh Hashanah is a rough one.
right, you
The
want to move it
holiday
over.
starts the night before, and that's the first day.
You want to move it over to the 9th? But then that's usually when we have our first.
Budget, yeah, it's budget.
We could probably fit that in, though, the budget hearing, we could probably fit that in with,
Laura, can you come back and help us out through?
we can probably fit that in with a well-scheduled meeting.
On the 9th?
I think so. Let's see what Laura has to add.
Hi again. So we're not going to know the dates for the budget hearing until the county and the school board set theirs. So we'll probably have to come back to you on those too, because if the school board or county claim the date, we can't hold our hearings on those dates.
I think
So the first date would be,
if the 9th happened to be a budget hearing day for us, we could fit also a regular meeting in the same
Yes.
day.
Yep.
So even
Mhm.
if that day does end up to be one of our budget hearing days, we could fit a commission meeting in as well. Is what I
Okay, so why don't we tentatively set the first meeting in September as September 9th? Does that seem fair?
Yep.
And then the next meeting would be the 23rd. That's past Yom Kippur. So is Sukkot a high holiday?
No, you're okay.
We're okay? All right.
So then we should keep it on the 21st. We should keep it on the Tuesday.
So we'll keep it on a Tuesday. All right. Into October, any questions regarding that? How about November? Any questions there? All right. December. That's Christmas on Las Olas. It's the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. It's not the first Tuesday. The 30th is the first Tuesday, right? So we're good. So it doesn't conflict with anything.
Mhm. Yep.
Fine.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, Mayor, but I want to go back to a suggestion you made earlier in reference to the YMCA.
Yes, sir.
I got a call from the committee. She was working on the committee that was gathering the historical artifacts and monuments for the YMCA, and they have already put something in motion to honor or acknowledge Margaret Haney Birch.
Okay. Do you know what we don't know what that is yet, do we?
No, but they're working on it. So I'm sure I could talk them into a room or something a little bit more significant in reference to what you were suggesting, but they had already had it in the works because
Okay,
she was a
great.
part of that committee.
Excellent. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions regarding scheduling for next year? If there are none, then City Manager, your report.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. So just one fairly significant report tonight, might take a couple minutes, but I want to talk about the most recent response we had to the tropical storm, as well as the flooding we saw in Fort Lauderdale. The flooding as it relates to our stormwater master plan and the neighborhoods that were selected for the first round of work, and how we need to be, I think, a little bit nimble with our response to that initial set of work and be able to expand and contract based upon what we're seeing in the built environment in the real world. So I've got quite a team assembled here behind me to take on different discussion points and questions related to number one, the storm, number two, how our city responded to it, number three, how the different neighborhoods reacted to the quantity of water that we had. No one district was immune from flooding. I think that's important to throw out there, that we had 10.5 inches of rain in a 24-hour period at one point. And that showed us that we had flooding in all parts of the city, as far north as you could go, south, east, and west. We had some neighborhoods that had more significant flooding that stuck around for a longer period of time than we did in other neighborhoods. And I want to have some of our experts talk about why that occurred and a little bit how we responded to it this time and how we'll respond to it for the next rain event. As you mentioned, these rain events seem to be more common and more frequent. And by the time we've gotten as far as we've gotten in the storm season, to still have a Category 4 storm out there south and west of us, we're certainly seeing impacts longer in the year. So I also want to touch on the fact that this highlights the need to look to our 2009 Stormwater Master Plan that we put together. There was a lot of work that was done into that plan. It was like, I think, 774 pages of good, interesting reading on how Fort Lauderdale participates in a storm. And then we updated that in 2018, as you recall, with some of the LiDAR work that we did and some of the suggestions for those 7 priority areas. I'm also here tonight to say that I think that what this storm showed us in the last week or so is that we've got some additional work that needs to be done in some additional neighborhoods in Fort Lauderdale, probably out of order, to make sure that if we end up with another rain event like we had, that we're looking towards what makes sense to move fastest. So at the pleasure of the commission, we can get into some pretty granular detail if you want to understand how some of the neighborhoods had what they had happen. I can stay very high level and we can just talk about it high level. I'll look to the commission maybe for some direction there, but
Well, I understand with regard to the 7 areas, the design work is already done and it just has to go out to bid right now.
correct, permitting and then out to bid. But I think that there's some things that, whether we look towards bond dollars or look towards other dollars, we had a couple of neighborhoods that stayed underwater for the better part of a week, and
Right. So
we've got to do some work there too.
Well, I think we're talking specifically about Melrose, the Melrose Park and Melrose Manors area. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any other area?
Primarily. We had some flooding down south, but I think that Edgewood, Riverland, I think they're contemplated in the first round of work from the master plan, but and Durs and Dorsey Riverbend both are as well. But yes, Melrose Manors, Melrose Park were primarily where we had a tremendous amount of standing water for the better part of a week.
For which we currently have no plan to mitigate their flooding, correct?
Well, we resorted to having to pump it down, and
No,
so
but we don't. But I mean, other than that, we don't have any infrastructure plans going forward.
correct. And there's not infrastructure over there. We found some, but there's not infrastructure over there that can handle that quantity of rain over the period of time that we had it.
All right. So to cut to the chase, is it possible for your staff to? I'd love to hear from the rest of the commission, but it's.
Well, I could start with that, Mayor, because I've been working with these areas. It's my district, and we've been working since I've been here. And you've heard me on many occasions talk about what Melrose Manors don't have, what Melrose has, and the lack of maintenance and the lack of capacity. I even took the city manager when he first became city manager on a tour over there to look at some of the wet areas, the retention swells, for staff to look at it. Raj, upon his arrival, has been working, looking at how we can address it and getting to it even sooner. I think the rain, all 3 incidents, kind of exposed this situation even more, and Public Works and the city manager pledged to move forward as quickly as possible, whether within our bond or finding other dollars, as he indicated. And we talked about moving forward. I just think what happened, although it was disastrous, it was not something we all wanted. It happened. I think we got on it right away, and they were able, for the first time in my 58 years, that's the area I grew up in, and that we were able to, we were on the ground, vacuuming water, cleaning the streets, and then even more so for the last 72 hours, staff have activated Mass Tech construction company to go into those canals and swells and excavate so that you can move the water along in Melrose Park. But Melrose Manors didn't have a system at all. That's why you see the water. And I drove through there on the way to commission today, and there's still some water, but not like it was. And I just think if we look at something tonight, I know you were over there on a couple of occasions, and we look at a serious long-term plan for these residents. They've been very patient. Some of them want to chime in today, and I told them, let's call with their concerns or whatever it is they want to say. And I think the city manager is going to allot that if we have anyone pending on calls. I think they just wanted to be heard. I think they're very satisfied with what we did pre and post, because we had an opportunity October 21, October 29, I believe, where we had 2 different storms. So it's 3 different times that they flooded, and they had to wait 3 to 7 days to get that water extracted from the streets. So again, I just have to give kudos because I was out there and I saw the boots on the ground. Public Works, police, city manager, assistant city managers are out in the area. And we even got better, I think, towards the end, Chris, when you guys went out knocking on doors to find out, if people are okay. Because we found senior citizens, some with no insurance because they couldn't afford it. We also found that, and I'm not sure about the flood maps, that that area is not even a flood zone. I don't know that to be true, but that's what I heard from the residents. And what I would like to know as we move forward, because of the some of the losses, I'm sure you got some of the same stuff, Mayor, and other commissioners. The swales being replaced because all the swales over there are destroyed. Some homes got water, some cars were lost. And I didn't promise anybody anything. I just want to know, as we're planning to move forward, will we consider or look into some of these liabilities? I've already instructed most people that I've contacted, and I send out communications for them to contact their insurance companies. I also contacted Tallahassee to the Insurance Commission. I got a representative that will come out and help folks who are being shorted by the insurance companies on the front end to help out. So whatever we can do as we move forward, see what we can do to get some of these folks back to normalcy. And last but not least, Chris, I sent you an email yesterday. I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at it. Folks were putting out wet furniture and things of that nature, and their bulk pickup was, I think, a week or 2 ago. And I think code was out citing folks. Can we pull code back and see if we can redirect bulk pickup to go through there and get some of the debris off the swales? With that, again, I just want to thank staff for their attention, and I thank you all in advance for what we are about to embark on.
All right, great, thank you. So, Mr. City Manager, why don't you go forward with your report?
Okay, thank you. So in response to that, yes, we can work with the neighborhood to handle the bulk trash. So I did want to be able to talk about it today. I do know that there are members of the public that wanted to address the commission. I know that we're a commission, a city, and a city staff that is interested in hearing from the residents. There was not an item published on tonight's meeting that would naturally allow for that public comment. So, Mayor, if you would indulge me with filling the request that if we have people that have called into today's meeting that simply want to talk with the commission about their feelings, that I was going to ask for that period of time during the manager's report to say,
okay,
an attendee, if there's an attendee out there that is on the Zoom call that wants to speak with the commission, because this is sort of a call in, if you could just raise your hand on the Zoom call.
How many people are we talking about?
I'm not sure because I recognize some of the names, but not the others. But if you had dialed into the meeting to talk about flooding in your neighborhood and you're an attendee on the Zoom call, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing anybody raise a hand, Mayor.
Well, in the meantime, why don't you proceed with
so we can go as into some details right now if we want to, or
you go ahead and give whatever detail you feel we need to know.
Got it. So let's start with Dr. Gassman, because I know there was some question as to why we were seeing this flooding and why we were seeing it in the part of the city we were seeing it in out west, and just ask her to do a fairly high-level brief, just a brief to the commission as to why we were seeing what we were seeing.
We've had absolutely unprecedented flooding during this period of time. Between October 1st and November 10th, the city in the central western portion received 36.7 inches of rainfall. and that is roughly 2/3 of our annual rainfall. If you go back to September 1st and you go from September 1st to November 10th, we received 86% of our annual rainfall in that period of time. Some of those rain events were, as the city manager noted, more than 10 inches in a 24-hour period. The city of Melrose, the area of Melrose Park and Melrose Manors are some of the highest elevation neighborhoods in our city. And one of the reasons that we experience flooding in those specific locations, which are areas that don't normally have significant ponding of water, in part was because throughout this rainfall that we were experiencing in October, we reached saturation in the groundwater. And what that means is the groundwater table was at the surface. At that point, you transition from water flowing downhill into different areas to a sheet flow situation, which means that the water will simply seek its own level and it will carry whatever is on the surface into the lowest areas. We did experience flooding in many of the neighborhoods that are highlighted in the Stormwater Master Plan. For those first 7 neighborhoods, many of those neighborhoods started flooding in the earlier events, whereas Melrose Manors and Melrose Park started to flood in the later events in the October 25th timeframe. So this is one of the reasons why some of these areas were highlighted, because in the Stormwater Master Plan Phase 1, because those are neighborhoods that are being impacted at a much earlier level within a saturated rainfall event. Other than that, Chris, I'm not sure what else you'd like me to cover.
I think that's, I recognize we've got a presentation we could put on, but I think we'll leave it at that for now and see if there's any
Yeah,
questions.
but I want to go back, Chris, because I think there's some misinformation there. These areas have always been prone to flooding. I think this is the worst we've ever seen it. So to say that it's not puddling or whatever words that Dr. Gasper used, in my opinion, is not an accurate statement, because you can go over there any day that there's a rain for a couple of hours and you will see significant flooding in those areas. I have asked staff on several occasions, but I don't want to rain on this parade because I think staff did a great job, Public Works, taking care of the issue at hand. But I have been asking for maintenance logs on when we cut, maintain, and unclog the drains in Melrose for years. And as recent, early October, before the rains. And then I think we finally did something on the 19th, in which a lot of the Melrose Parks water issues, I think, was lack of maintenance. Sometimes it was because the retention swells were wet, according to staff, and they could not get the equipment in to cut. So then drains were clogged, as the news clearly pointed out just before the storm, that all those drains were full. And I think as a result of the exercise we did in the last 72 hours, has rectified that problem somewhat. So I think the regular maintenance over in Melrose Park can help us in future rains. And I think, again, in Melrose Manors, not having them at all. And residents have been talking to me and just saying they could not believe the city showed up for the first time. Some 30-year residents, some 50-year residents, some dating back early 60s, just saying this is the first time the city came out and helped with the water. Yes, it was excessive, but there's always an large sum of water in these areas in any heavy rain. So just for the record.
Thank you. So I guess, Mayor, where I hope to leave it today was just to say, there's been some discussions as to what neighborhoods we'd work in and which ones were ready to go now versus in the future. And I just wanted to be able to tell the commission that we saw some activity in other neighborhoods that maybe weren't part of the first 7, that I think we need to look at sooner rather than later, and not have, that extended phase 2. So we'll be bringing recommendations back, but I just wanted the commission to be aware that we are ready to be nimble and adjust where we need to adjust. To make
Do we have any comments from Raj? I mean, he's an engineer that kind of keeps us all in the right track. Raj, do you want to add anything to this conversation in terms of pre and post? Just for the record, people they're watching, Mayor, and they want to know what we are doing. And I know you assured the folks that we would look into it. So I want to just make sure we put everything out there so that nothing comes back and hits us in the head.
Sure, we can let Raj do it.
Well, I'm really concerned about the statement that you guys haven't been keeping up the maintenance of these storm drains. Tell us about that.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioner again. Before I answer that question, let me just correct my earlier statement about the deep injection. Well, it's not related, but let me just correct it. It goes up to 3,000 feet down, the one that we talked about. So I just wanted to make that correction. Thank you. It was bothering me. Yeah, going back to Commissioner McKenzie's question, I'd like to answer both as an engineer and philosophically. So let me just do it as an engineer first. There are two components to the stormwater maintenance, stormwater program that we have. One is the issue of maintenance, and the other issue is related to the infrastructure that supports it. Clearly, this event has taught us something about the maintenance. We have been maintaining at a certain frequency, at a certain level, and this particular event has taught us that it needs to be increased. So we are going to be working on that, making sure that we provide enough resources to make sure that the catch basins are cleaned, the swales are cleaned, and they are unobstructed, and they are flowing in the direction they are supposed to. So that part, I'm going to raise my hand, and as the director, it is my responsibility to make sure that we have a program that is expanded to address the concerns that we have in the city throughout. So that those resources are going to be increased, and we are going to be redesigning our maintenance program. Coming back to the infrastructure part of it, Commissioner McKenzie is absolutely right in terms of the Melrose Manors and Melrose Park, and I am going to recognize our senior project manager, Raris. He is over here. He took it to heart, what he saw for the first time. He has been with the city for 6 years or so, and he took it to heart, and he looked at various options that are out there that we can design and we can work parallel to the stormwater master plan. We are not held hostage to those 7 neighborhoods that are there. We always recognize that that was, as I had said earlier, it is the start, it is not the end. There are many communities that have issues, and that's why we have 2 sets of capital programs. One that is part of the master plan that has 7 neighborhoods to be funded by bonds, but then there is also other projects that may not be of that magnitude, might not have made the list, but they need to be done. This happens to be one of them, and we will make sure that we design it the best way we can. We already have started the process after seeing it, and we will continue to do that. So by addressing this issue, I just want to assure the commission and the residents that it is our ultimate responsibility to make sure that the system works as best as it can. And we already have started the process, and at least I am not held hostage to what was done 5 years ago, 7 years ago, what the master plan says, what we have seen, what needs to be addressed, and we have started the process. So I'm not too sure, Commissioner McKenzie, if I've answered your question.
I think you have, and again, I want to thank you for what you have done since rising to your level. It's just frustrating to me, Mayor. You've been here, you've heard me time and time again talk about it. And I guess to give the rest of you a picture of what I'm talking about, especially in Melrose Park. So imagine having canals in the back of your homes. And then I think the county might have put this system in. I'm not sure, because I've heard 2 different versions.
Yeah, I think
And
the station, they put in a swale system and
but let me tell you how the swell system, it's like a canal.
Go ahead.
So they backfill those canals, so they're no longer canals. They're retention swells.
Right.
So what has been happening since I've been here is the vegetation grows up. When it rains, it gets muddy. So all we were doing was cutting the vegetation when we could access the canals. And there was some debris in there as well that came from local businesses on Dave V. Probably some folks right at the bridges that had the concrete barriers that we pulled some tires out to get some of the water flowing. There was also one valve that wasn't open that goes out west somewhere. I'm not sure where that was. But when we went in there in the last 72 hours, we dredged those swells. Now there's water in there, and you can see all the drains beginning to take the water in and filter it through the swell system that we have. And we didn't completely vacuum the water, according to staff, because of the pressure, and it's something they're doing to further mitigate that issue. But we are leaps and bounds ahead of where we were before the rains began in I'll say October 19th, October 20th. So I just wanted to paint that picture for you so you can see it. And this canal, it's a big circle, almost 3/4 around the perimeter of Melrose Park. And it is a big part of how we get water out of that neighborhood. And for Manners, again, there is no system. So just wanted to paint that picture for my colleagues and for you, Mayor.
So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention, because when I was out there, I was given a tour by Donna Guthrie, who showed me the various retention areas filled with all kinds of plastic debris, just garbage all over the place, totally clogging up the system. So I will take you at your word, Raj, that we will change the frequency of the cleanup operation, because while it worked in the past, people have said, I've lived there 35 years, I've never seen a flood like this. Well, it's 35 years later, and now we've got to change our practices. So I appreciate your taking this to heart and realize, I know it's going to cost more money for the city. So you're going to have to come back to us and tell us how we're going to pay for this. I assume it's going to impact our water rates. So I hope the commission is prepared to make decisions necessary to address this. But the reality is that we have infrastructure problems, stormwater, wastewater, and the like. And we need to bite the bullet. And I hope the folks in our communities, all of our communities, understand the importance of trying to get the job done. So, do you have anything else to add, Mr. City Manager?
I do have one question though, and that's for staff.
Go ahead.
Since the governor declared this a state of emergency.
Robert, did you shave your beard?
Yeah, I shaved the beard.
I just
hold on, the meeting before, and I went to the goatee, and now the goatee is gone. So I'm back to the beginning.
Okay.
No, question. Good observation. A question.
Babyface. We're gonna have to call you Babyface.
No, you're Babyface.
He can't grow. That's the problem.
What? Listen, I'll help you out. Call me. Hey,
thank you.
The governor declared a state of emergency. So our cleanup efforts and some of the things that we're.
Wait.
You hear me, Mayor?
Well, you froze up there for a second. Say it again.
Hey, the governor declared the state of an emergency.
Correct.
So our cleanup efforts, can we get any of that money, funds reimbursed through the state?
So the answer to that, Commissioner, is that we documented it such that if it becomes eligible, yes, we will seek reimbursement. The storm was not declared by FEMA as a disaster. So,
okay.
So we don't have that declaration.
But the state,
and I did hear that, Mayor. I talked to a couple homeowners.
Right.
They went to FEMA. They went to a lot of these places, and they were denied.
They were denied. So
Yes,
I just want to say one thing though. The state, the governor's office did contact us and provided quite a bit of equipment. I don't know how many vacuum trucks they provided to us, but they were on top of this. And I appreciate their reaching out to us during the height of the storm to assist us. Do you remember how many vacuum trucks they provided to
Yeah,
us?
so they provided us sets of pumps. They did it in 2 sets of 4, correct? 2 sets of 4, just 1 set of 4? 1 set of 4.
Okay. So they did reach out to us. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention as well.
Right. I have a couple comments too.
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Raj. One question for you real quick.
Yes, Commissioner.
Let's see. One neighbor brought up last night, which I thought was a good point. You know, we had heavy rain a few weeks ago. Did we go clean the catch basins then before more rain could come? Or what is our policy or procedure for when we do have a heavy rain? How quickly do we get out there to clean up those catch basins? So
I
we
will
don't-
defer that to Marie. She's
Okay.
standing here. That's the reason
Yeah.
we have her here. So Marie, do you mind?
She's been wanting to talk all.
Thank you. And maybe that's something we could change too. I remember it was a Sunday when it was heavy and the rain was a couple feet in different parts of my district. And neighbors were pretty convinced that that would led to more flooding after the tropical storm.
Good afternoon, Commission.
Hey.
And Mayor. My name's Sandra Marie Pierce. I work in Public Works and the Stormwater Operations Manager. So to answer your question specifically, October 25th was the first flooding incident. And yes, we did, during the first day, we got all of our trucks deployed and got out there. Of course, not all of them, but the On the Boots program had definitely begun. So between the first event and the second event, which was October 31st, we had managed to pump all the streets down and we had managed to remove all of the water from the catch basins, to answer your question. And we had started on the ditches the morning to create capacity the morning that the second storm rolled in on us. So we lost our ability to create the capacity that we wanted to start creating so that we could get to a point of identifying where the choke points were in that particular ditch. The second storm came through. We started back where we started on October 25th, repeated the same process, brought in more trucks. And this particular time, we got all the water off the streets, got most of the catch basins, the water pulled out. It was a little bit more challenging during the second event because there's two different types of catch basin structures within Melrose Park. There are solid pipe catch basins and then exfiltration. The exfiltration systems were next to impossible to remove all the water because a groundwater table, all you're really doing is you're sucking up the groundwater into the basin. So we decided that because we knew that we had a storm coming, that our efforts were more stringent if we started to create capacity within the ditch. So at that point, I don't remember the exact date off the top of my head, but I have it documented. We turned our efforts toward trying to create capacity in the ditch in anticipation of the storm. Unfortunately, we did not realize that we were going to get over 10 inches. So some of the ditches overflowed again. And again, of course, the catch basins and the pipes also went into the roadways.
Marie, so quick question over
Yes, sir.
here. So with Commissioner Moritas's district, I think that she's more focused in on what we do with catch basin maintenance and storm drain
So
maintenance and in preparation for a storm like this.
in all of our citywide, we have what we call the proactive inspection program. And that is twice a year, at least twice a year, we sweep the city and we go throughout the every single district, every single map, every single section number, and we physically inventory those catch basins. And we determine at that particular point if there's a need for maintenance or if there's a need for repair. And we go through our own internal process.
So I think what the neighbor was mentioning though, once again, is after that October 25th, maybe if we would have gotten out there quickly and had some kind of emergency clean out the catch basin with the solid, it would have eliminated some of the flooding, which we normally don't get, like in Sunrise Intercoastal behind the Galleria. You know, people were taking out sandbags and it was going into the garage. They normally don't have that. And they just anecdotally thought it was from the previous storm, which kind of filled up the catch basins with some solid debris. So maybe that's something we look at in the future if we don't currently have that, is kind of a get everybody out and just clean out those catch basins when we do have a heavy rain like that, so we don't have flooding when the next rain comes. That's one thing they said. And so thank you. I appreciate your answer.
So,
Yeah.
Commissioner Moritas, let me just, this is the type of increased maintenance I was talking
Yep.
about earlier, such that we take proactive positions, because you are absolutely correct in the sense that many times, especially if it is a wind event also, it covers the catch basin and it gives the false impression that the flooding has taken place. I have seen it, experienced it many times. When these types of clogging, they reduce the capacity. And that is the increase in program that I'm talking about, that we take a proactive, position and make sure that they are cleaned and increase the frequency.
No, thank you. I'll report that back, the increased maintenance. I appreciate it. And Raj, I don't know, we mentioned that, I think it was 2018, you said was our last master plan for stormwater, or Chris, someone mentioned that. And I know recently, maybe within the past year, new flood maps have been issued. I know Commissioner McKenzie addressed the new flood maps too. Is it time, or are we planning on updating our storm water master plan to incorporate the new flood maps? Because maybe some of these areas are now, more prone to flooding.
Yeah, I'd have to look to Public Works for some help there. It was 2009, I believe, was when we did it last, and then we updated it in 2018.
Yes, let's, I can get back to you with the exact date, but you're correct that the flood maps were revised, and consequently there were certain areas that, that were not in the flood zone are now in the flood zone. So we are going to, I can attest to that, because my house was outside the flood zone and now it is a part of flood zone. So yes, it did impact, and I was, myself was stranded for 4 days. So you are absolutely right in terms of, and then we can definitely incorporate that into our, decision. But right now, as it stands, we have not seen any, and Redis can correct me if I'm wrong, it has been impacted by the new FEMA map, but we can definitely investigate and get back to you on that exact answer.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then my last comment when we're talking about maintenance or changing is maybe we get a few more pump trucks in different areas. I mean, I know Melrose was heavily impacted, but I had on Intercoastal Drive too, a neighbor reported of 3 feet of water on their property in different areas, that really the water stayed until Tuesday. So maybe we do have a bigger inventory or an interlocal agreement or a better agreement with the state or something to get some more pump trucks.
Yeah.
So we had 5 of our own, and I want to say Marie's group at the peak upped that by an additional 26. And so we did have them deployed in multiple areas of the city, north, south, east, and west. So it wasn't just a focus on, we had a couple of neighborhoods that were intensely impacted, but we had a citywide, as I mentioned, citywide issues with flooding. And some were easier to pump down and just be a day, and some took multiple days.
Yeah. Did we resolve the issue of where we put the water after we pump it?
Just went into the stormwater system. So we were routinely taking water out of an area that didn't have a highly functioning stormwater system and introducing it into more of our mainline stormwater system. So it was, if you spotted the tanker trucks sitting on the side of the road, looked like they were discharging into the storm system. That was pumped up water that was then discharged back into our system.
All right, thank you.
So we did use the county and the state system to drain into, to help move the water, as the manager is saying. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, great. Anything further, Mr. City Manager?
No, I just wanted you to hear from us after we had flooding in the city. That's really the update that I had, and we'll take any other questions, but
Will you be able to come back to us with an updated project plan going forward with regard to these other areas?
We'll absolutely have to, because it'll have to have funding identified for it. So that's what we'll do behind the scenes, and then we'll bring it to you in the form of a budget amendment and a plan.
Okay, great. Any further comments or questions from the commission before we adjourn the afternoon meeting? There being none, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I hear something? What?
CRA.
Yeah, I know. We just concluded the conference meeting. Okay. So now we want to move into the Community Redevelopment Agency Board. Do you want to call the roll?
Commissioner Moritas.
Here.
Vice Chair Glassman.
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Here.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Here.
Chair Trentels.
Here. Let me just quickly read through this. City of Fort Lauderdale is hosting its commission meetings in both a virtual and in-person format. Any member of the public that is interested in speaking before the commission, in this case, the CRA board, virtually is required to complete the virtual speaker card, which I have several here. Any member of the public that is interested in speaking before the commission in person may sign up to speak at the meeting or by using the virtual speaker card. Due to COVID-19 distance requirements, there is very limited seating available. I see some empty seats in the house. Due to COVID-19 distance requirements, therefore, we are encouraging members of the public to participate virtually when possible. The public will be able to listen to and view commission meetings at www.fortlauderdale.gov/FLTV or www.youtube.com/City of Fort Lauderdale, all spelled out, as well as Comcast Channel 78 and Channel 99 AT&T Uverse. To speak on an agenda items, please click on the link below. The link is as follows: bit.ly/virtual CC meetings. What does LY stand for? I said it 100 times. I never asked what that stood for. Anyway, bit.ly/virtual CC meetings. Were you just told what it meant?
I believe it's the short link. It's the symbol that it's a short link.
Okay. All right. Anyway, moving forward, please you called the roll. So M1, motion to approve the minutes for November 5th, 2020 Community Redevelopment Agency Board meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
Moved.
It's been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Chair Trentalis.
Yes, and the minutes have been approved. M2, this is a motion appropriating unspent remaining Northwest Progresso Flagler Heights Community Redevelopment Agency fund incentive fund balances for the estimated fiscal year 2020. These are the year-end incentive fund balances. Anyone have any questions? If there are none, would someone please like to move the item?
Mayor,
Yep. Vice Mayor?
Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little difficulty. For some reason, it's my screen and I'm having some issues today, but can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. On this item M2, it says under the title Commission District 3, but I believe this is Commission District 2 and 3. And therefore, I was just wondering if there was any consideration given to any of the park space in District 2 with these remaining unspent funds. Out of the $1,414,000 and change, about $914,000 is going into the District 3 portion for parks, but I was just wondering if any consideration, Chris, was given to the District 2 portion. And I don't know, maybe that's just because District 2 was left out of the title where it says only Commission District 3.
Actually, I think there was an amendment this afternoon.
We did. Yeah, we amended the CAM to include District 2 as well.
I apologize. I didn't see that. Okay.
It's okay. But I think your question has merit. So can someone respond to that, please?
I can, but I'm going to have to go to Clarence.
Happens to be standing right here.
Oh, even better. I was like looking for him on the screen and he didn't appear, but it's even better in person. So go ahead, Clarence.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the commission, City Manager. It's not that there wasn't any consideration given to any parks in District 2. What we were doing is we were trying to find a CIP project, that we had been working on, throughout the year to add these funds to. I mean, as you know, there's 2 or 3 other things that could happen, 2 of which we are doing with these remaining balances. We're putting money into a CIP project, which is Provident Park, and a portion of it is going towards debt service. So it wasn't that we chose any particular park over any other one. It's just that we were working on this particular one.
Okay. You have any other questions, Vice Mayor?
No, and unfortunately, he cut out. I might have to just, when we get to a break, I'll just try to shut down the iPad. But yeah, I'm having problems. I didn't hear Clarence's concluding sentence. I apologize.
He said that it wasn't necessarily any preference given to one project or another. They just happened to be working on the Provident Park project, and this would be additional funds to complete that project, and the balance is going to go to pay down debts, debt.
Yes, no, and I did read that in the CAM. I was just wondering why there was no consideration to any of the CIP projects might have been identified in the District 2 portion of the CRA, but I understand.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, there being no further questions, would someone like to move the item?
So move.
Moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Glassman,
Vice Chair Glassman,
He's having difficulties, he said.
can you hear us, Steve?
Mm-mm. He's frozen.
yeah, he's frozen right now.
Maybe he can. call.
Yes. Yes.
There we go.
Okay.
Maybe he needs to come in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right here. We'll heat your dinner up.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Yes.
Chair Trentals.
Yes. And
He heard that, didn't he?
Yes.
He doesn't want to leave his luxury surroundings from beautiful Sapphire.
I'm sure there's water outside. He can't get out.
There
Okay.
is a pool.
This is a motion approving a property and business improvement program incentive forgivable loan in the amount of $225,000 to the Blue Tree Cafe LLC for the Blue Tree Cafe, which is a multi-brand virtual kitchen and restaurant proposed at 612 Northwest 9th Avenue. I have several people who've signed up to speak, but I would imagine that here in support of it, Sharon Allen, Nika Williams, and Christy Alvarez. Does anyone have any questions of any of these folks?
I have just a question. I'm just curious. Since you and I have been here, Mayor, the owners of that property, right, have been working on CRA building, the other building, and the piece to the west of the CRA building since I can remember. Are they ever going to finish the construction so that we can get this restaurant in there?
Good question. Well, who's here on behalf of the applicant that can speak? Or maybe Clarence can speak to that. Clarence, are you here?
Yes. So if you recall, this is one of the projects that we have made funding available to in redoing that whole commercial strip plaza. One of the things that we had to come back for was a requirement by DSD to put in underground tanks underground tanks.
Yeah, Clarence.
Right.
Clarence, I get that part. But how long ago was that?
Well,
That's the question.
It's been
a long time.
I guess to cut to the chase, when is it going to be finished? And when
Yes, sir.
is the conclusion of the project?
So Eyal and I had a conversation yesterday. We didn't get into that, but I'll go back to them and find out from them exactly when they expect to have that project finished. I would suspect that
what's your over under?
Please don't do that to me.
Well, it's not so much Clarence as it is the owners. And I'm just concerned about, we're going to approve this money tonight, which I'm all in. And I just see a building that's not complete. That's all.
Right.
So why don't you come back to us at a future CRA meeting with that?
I will.
To us?
I will.
It's a good point. You know, I'll tell you, Commissioner, we approve so many projects and we never see the conclusion of them. And we need to get things done because these communities languish when we don't have completed projects. So I agree with you 100%. All right, would someone like to move the item?
I'll move the item.
Okay,
Second.
moved and seconded.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Chair Trentals.
Yes, and the item is approved. Now, the three people that signed up were all here on behalf of the organization, so I assume they're okay with what we just did. So leave that there. Okay, moving on to resolutions. R1, this is okay. Resolution approving a forgivable loan of $3 million to Wright Dynasty LLC under the Development Incentive Program at 1217 to 1223 Sistrunk Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, authorizing the executive director to execute the letter of intent and other documents related to this transaction, and delegating authority to the executive director to take certain actions and providing for an effective date.
Mayor, can I interrupt just very
Yeah.
quickly? So we've had Sharon Allen on, who's consistently raised her hand. I think she was signed up on the last item to speak. We might want to recognize her.
Okay.
And see what she has to say if she was signed up. Sharon, are you there? We've recognized you. Can you unmute, please? *6. Sharon, are you there? We still see that you're on mute. *6 would unmute you. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
we can. Hi, Sharon.
I just wanted to thank everyone of the commissioners for approving this. And I'm so very excited. And some of the residents, I spoke with the HOAs, and they are very excited to see this type of eatery to come into the neighborhood. And I just wanted to thank everyone.
Sharon, what's your timetable about starting construction and opening?
Well, I can start now. I had spoke with the general contractor on the site, Bruno, and he was just running behind because the finishing work they have to do, it can't be wet because it's about laying the they got the parking lot in there, but the rain is what's holding them up. But I can get in to my building and start building it out. So once I get with Mr. Woods and the GC over there at CRA, we'll start immediately.
And once you start, about what time frame do you think you'll be working?
Well, I was being optimistic and I said 3 to 4 months, but the commission told me look about like 6 months. So I'm looking at early spring.
Okay.
Early, late spring.
All right. Well, good luck with that.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
You too.
Okay. So moving forward, this is with regard, there are three people who've signed up to speak with regard to this. One's a presentation. There's Dennis Wright, Pamela Adams, and Vincent Prince. Clarence, you want to give us a little introduction as to what this is about, since it's $3 million?
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, this is an incentive loan for the development of 24 units of residential housing, two floors of parking, as well as 5 commercial storefront bays right on Sistrunk Boulevard. The developer, Mr. Wright, has purchased the properties. He's purchased the properties there. He's partnered in some way with the old Walker family in order to purchase the property, as well as I think there's some other property that could be in play, but it's probably going to be one of the first, other than the YMCA, but privately held new construction development on this side of 9th and Sistrunk.
So if I calculate this correctly, the amount of money that we're loaning, it's a forgivable loan, is a little under 50% of the total.
Yes. Yes, and which we're allowed to fund up to 90% with these with our program.
Do these folks have a history of development?
Well, Mr. Wright himself doesn't have a history of development, but we, as well as his contractors, have been working with him. We provided some technical assistance. Ms. Adams, who runs the CDC, does have some development experience as well. But we've provided him with a lot of the technical assistance in getting this done. He's actually getting a loan from the Florida Community Loan Fund, who's very excited about partnering with him to do this development.
So how much is that loan going to be for?
I think it's like $3.5 million or somewhere thereabout.
So you're saying all the money in this project is borrowed money?
Well, like I said, he spent his money in buying all the land and doing the plans.
So let's see. The land cost, just looking at I land development costs, but what's the land cost? I'm just trying to find that out here. I just want to know how much skin in the game these folks have.
I mean, I'm sure he would be able to tell you, but I think it's somewhere upwards close to 700,000, maybe a little more, but I'm sure he'll be able to.
Is that Mr. Wright?
Yeah, he's here. Yeah, he's
Mr.
on.
Wright, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah. How are you?
How you doing? How you doing? Come in.
Good. Sounds very exciting, and we appreciate your interest in developing this property on Sistrunk. Tell us a little bit about what investment you have personally in this that's not borrowed funds, if you could.
Okay, well, to give you a little history, I'm the third generation property owner of property on Sistrunk. I acquired the property that's formerly owned by the Walker family, who started Walker Grocery Store in 1930s. So I acquired that property to incorporate into this development at the purchase price of $275,000. So in addition to that, and my existing property, which was 1221 and 1223, as well as my personal funds, I'm going to contribute personally close to $500,000 or more out of my pocket to do this project.
So that's equity you're putting into it. You didn't borrow that money?
No, sir, I did not borrow that money.
Okay. Is this your first project that you've ever done, or have you done other projects before?
From a development perspective, this is my first one.
Okay.
But now the team, Mayor, the team itself, they're a very experienced team that's done development projects of this nature for years. So me as the property owner have gone out and put together a team, like they mentioned, Miss Pamela Adams, who's done development within the Sistrunk area and Broward County area for years. My architect, Kirk Petgrave, who's on the call as well. He's done architectural work and development in this for years. And then my developer, Mr. Vincent Prince, who was on, but unfortunately he had to drop. He's done significant development as well. So the team itself is very experienced in development projects. I'm the only inexperienced one, but I'm the property owner.
Okay, great. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Wright?
Mayor, I do.
Yes, go ahead.
No, thank you. Nice to meet you, Mr. Wright. And also, this is for city staff as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but is 1217 the site of Walker's Grocery?
That is correct, Mr. Glassman.
Okay, thank you. So correct me if I'm wrong, that building will be demolished, yes?
Yes, Mr. Glassman.
Okay, I'm going to respectfully request from you some sort of tribute to that building from a historic preservation perspective, and whether that takes the shape of some sort of gallery display in the new project. For those that not are aware, that goes back to 1939 on the Sistrunk corridor. It really was among the first Black-owned businesses on Sistrunk, and back in that time, 1939, there were actually only a few businesses on Sistrunk and only 2 Black-owned businesses on Sistrunk. Willie and Beatrice Walker, as I said, opened that in 1939. I have mixed feelings about the demolition of the building or the fact that it's not going to be able to be incorporated into the new project, but I understand. But I would ask for some sort of respect paid to the building and the people, Willie and Beatrice Walker. And I think we could do something really nice in terms of some sort of historical show there, whether it's photography, whether it's written word. But I do think that it's important to document that history in the new project. Is that possible?
So, Mr. Glassman, I'm glad you brought that up because my family started their business in 1954 right next to the Walkers. So the families are very close. And as part of the agreement to purchase the property with the Walkers, I agreed to do something from a historical perspective, not only for Mr. Walker, Mr. Willie Walker, but also for my grandmother, Miss Helen Mars, who started her business in 1954 right next door on the other lot. So that was already part of the plan, but I'm definitely open to having further discussions on how we do that. But the honor of Mr. Walker and what he having his business from 1939, my grandmother who started her business in 1954, as well as other entrepreneurs and business owners back in those days that were on that corridor as well would be recognized as people walking into that building.
Okay, great. I just think it's really important. I'm sure we could get some help from a lot of the historical groups in the city, and we can do something really nice. But I do think it's really important. So, thank you for, for recognizing that. I think it's really important. Thank you. And I do know that I think your grandmother had Helen's kindergarten and nursery, right?
That is correct.
Yes. So let's do something really nice to pay honor to these pioneers on the Sistrum corridor. And I think it could be really special in the new project. Thank you.
No,
You want to
thank you
introduce the
for
resolution?
that recognition.
Vice Mayor, do you want to introduce the resolution?
Sure.
I want to say a couple of things.
Go ahead.
I've been working with Mr. Wright, his team for years, and on this project and another one at 9th Avenue and Sistrunk as well. Also very instrumental in getting the Walker family to agree to this deal. And a lot of the things that were brought up tonight were previously discussed with the two families and the development team. And I'm so excited to be at this tipping point to get this project on the move. And I thank you for your sweat equity. I thank you for your time, your talents, and being able to assemble such a experienced team. And we are looking forward to moving forward with this. So thank you all.
All right, great. Any other questions or comments that anyone would like to make with regard to this project? Dennis, Pamela Adams, and Vincent Price, Vincent Prince, sorry.
You're dating yourself, Mayor.
Sorry, Halloween's over. Have signed up to speak, but I think they were just going to speak in support. I just assume that's correct, right?
That is correct. And just so you know, too, for the record, Mayor, that we also spoke with civic organizations and have letters of support as well from Progresso. Well, Progresso's letter, Mr. Johnson, is forthcoming. Dorset River Garden and Sweeting Estates, Ms. Hartley, she wrote a letter of support, and I think that was sent directly.
Right, we have all of that.
You do have all that information? Okay, great.
All righty. The resolution's been introduced. Please call the roll.
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency approving a forgivable loan of $3 million to Wright Dynasty LLC under the Development Incentive Program, authorizing the Executive Director to execute the letter of intent and other documents related to this transaction, delegating authority to the Executive Director to take certain actions and providing for an effective date. Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Glassman?
You need to come in. You need to come in.
Commissioner
If he comes in, you're coming in.
If he comes in, I'm right behind.
Commissioner.
Well, I'm definitely not coming in.
Commissioner Moritas, thank you both.
Yes.
McKenzie, yes. And Chair Trentalis.
Yes, and the resolution is approved. Good luck, Mr. Wright. We, hope this becomes a successful project for you, and hopefully it's the beginning of other projects that you invest in our community. Is there any further business of the CRA board? There being none, meeting's adjourned, and we'll see you all at 6 o'clock.